The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
G'day world, this is the Sniper of the Skies, Robbie Eagles, and you are listening to Keeping It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy, Donovan, and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out in Barrio the Frogs. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the Ace of Podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll review Sakura Genesis and cover all its news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Please support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network and Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the network's podcasts over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Chop Tea store, chop-tees.com/KI Strong Style. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style merchandise. There's free shipping on every order and 10% off your first order. That's chop-tees.com/KI Strong Style. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Young boy, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. I am so glad to be back. Jeremy, you tell me, am I the only one that does this? When you miss an episode and then you're listening to the episode that you weren't a part of, do you get pissed at yourself for not being able to partake in the show where you're like, you know, Jeremy answered that question wrong. I would have corrected him there. I would have had a much better answer. You know, fuck MJ. I would have had a much better answer. Am I the only one that does this?
Yeah, I don't quite respond like that, but I do be like, yo, man, I wish I could have made a point on that or talked about that.
No, I'm just playing. You guys did a great job last week. And yeah, I did regret not being able to be on the show. You know, life got in the way. It's been a crazy couple of fucking weeks. If I, you know what? This isn't even beer, but you know what I'm going to do right now? I'm going to crack one open for the working man. Cause it's, yeah, bro. I don't know if you saw, the markets crashed today. You know, those who maybe don't know, I work in finance. And so it's been fucking insane. And yeah, bro, like what happened in Denver is, I didn't even really, like, I was sick, but not really. Like, it's not that I was sick. It's that the finance industry is full of a bunch of fucking degenerates, right? So I'm there like on a work trip and these people just go hard all day, all night. And like, yeah, I might have a drink here or there, but like, you know, I don't go like I used to when I was in my like early 20s. And bro, they're like every night, all day, because it's like a work thing and everything's comped. So like we're doing like, you know, drinks in the middle of lunch, drinks before dinner drinks. Then we're going out and doing a work thing and there's more drinks. And then they want to do an after party thing. And then they want to come back to the hotel and it's all night. And like after 2 days of that, I was like, bro, I can't fucking keep up with these people. And yeah, like I got home and I didn't sleep. I don't know what happened, but like the time changed, probably the alcohol. Yeah, Miss J Doom says I work in finance, can totally attest to the weird people. Yeah, and it was nuts. Like I didn't get any sleep when I was in Denver. I've never had time change affect me before, but maybe this is just a sign I'm getting old. But like I was sleeping like 2-3 hours a night, and then I came back and like I tried to muscle through to like show up for the show that day, and like my wife was like, "You are legit actually like exhausted, and you shouldn't like go to the show today." She always encouraged me not to do the show, but but this time it was a like legit, you know, not just like a let's watch a movie, but like a legit, like, you need to actually go to sleep right now.
Yeah.
So that has been crazy. And then these markets crashing. And then I've been a zombie for like the last couple weeks because I'm trying to get off my SSRIs. And like, them shits are strong, bro. I've been trying to like tell myself like, that shit ain't got nothing on me. But then like I'm walking through, yeah, like, yeah, I'm trying to muscle out of it. But then my brain is going, yeah. So it's been a crazy couple weeks, but I'm glad to be back on the show. What's been going on with you?
Not too much, man. Just busy work and been finishing up some house stuff. So yeah, that's.
Bro, are you ever gonna finish your house and actually invite people over, or like what's the deal? It's been like 2 years.
Yeah, I think double or nothing. I think it's gonna be ready. We got some last finishing touches done recently, and yeah,
I'm not coming over.
I know you don't watch the AEW on Sunday nights.
Not on Sunday nights. Yeah, like I watched White Lotus this weekend.
Nice.
It was better. The Young Bucks didn't screw anybody out of the title. So it's better. No, yeah. Yeah, I can't do, bro. Like I do genuinely love like AEW pay-per-views, but like it has to be a Saturday for me. I cannot do like a 4 to 5 hour show on a Sunday night. I know other people can, but like with my work schedule, it's not feasible. I don't know how you're fucking doing it.
Well, I didn't stay up all night last night to watch it. I watched part of it because I did have, we had Sakura Genesis on Saturday. So I was like, gotta give the wife some time. Can't be, watching 2 back-to-back, 4-hour shows. So
why? You make the money.
So, yeah, I watched a little bit of pay-per-view yesterday. Then I watched the whole thing today. So, yeah, I'm caught up on the show now. But, yeah, those late night pay-per-views, I mean, I love them too. But, yeah, they do. I always do kind of regret it the next morning. Like, damn.
Bro, if they were doing it, like they used to do it on the holiday weekends and Saturdays. And I don't know why they just can't fucking do that. Like regular people cannot stay up that late on a Sunday night. I don't care what their numbers say. Like they need to think of me. You want to check that New Japan audience? You need to do Saturday nights. Yeah, it's fucking crazy. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about, and I'm excited about it. Although I feel like things are weird right now. All of a sudden, like we were hot. Now I don't know where we're going.
Yeah, well, we'll jump into it. A couple things here first. So first thing, we got to plug the Social Suplex newsletter. The first issue of that dropped last week on socialsuplex.com. So shout out to Trish from Trish and Sarah and Tim Hunter. They put a lot of work and effort into launching the newsletter up on the site. Tim Hunter doing a lot of the web design. Trish kind of is the main mastermind behind all this, gathering contributors and kind of the mastermind behind the layout and the format. And there's a lot of really good news in there. And, a big part of this is we want this to be free. And, there's long write-ups in there. Shout out to Lyric Swinton, who was on the show a while ago. She was on the feature or the front page. Great article talking about the 10 years of women's wrestling and kind of what's going on there. And then we got breakdowns of every region. You go to the Asia section. There was a ton of great New Japan stuff. A lot of great like business, like attendance, ticket sale stuff that you might not always see on the Observer or Fightful, or you have to pay to get that stuff. And so it's all out there for free. Go to socialsuplex.com. There's a newsletter tab up there for all the sections, and we're working on getting the subscribe feature up there so you can get an email every time a new issue drops.
I prefer to pay SES Scoops to give me my Japanese coverage. I pay them. I pay Ringside News. I pay who's Sean Ross Sapp with?
Fightful.
And Fightful. SES Scoops, Ringside News, and Fightful. That's who I pay. Make sure I'm and you guys think I'm giving you original takes, but it's all of their shit is just getting funneled into me, and then I'm giving it to you and you're paying me money so that I can pay them money. It's a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
Do those people even cover Japan?
barely. Fightful, does the yearly. This person's contract's up. Well, yes, that's everybody's contracts up. New Japan.
I saw them biting on the Naito things. One of those. I don't know who it was.
Yeah. So check out the newsletter. The next thing here.
Big congrats to the team here, and I know that they're looking for more contributors. And hey, you can probably throw them some money. Support them that way too. I've seen some really incredible. What was it? Was it monthly Perezu? Was that the thing?
Yeah.
That was like an awesome project that just went by the wayside. They died. That Orange Crush, it was like the quarterly art book that was wrestling based, and that thing died. And stuff like this doesn't exist without funding. And I know they're doing it for free, but like, I do think that if you enjoy what they're doing, there's a reason that Dave's been able to do what he does since 1980. He's not able to just self-finance the fucking Observer. Neither was Alvarez with what was he with the Torch?
He had
Torch is what's his face?
Yeah, Alvarez had an F4W or
figure four wrestling.
Figure four.
Yeah. So I mean, support those guys, support those ladies, everything that they're doing, those people, and I don't know, man. Maybe I'll come out. Maybe who knows? I might write some Jim Londo shit. You just never
finish that best cage match list you're supposed to publish like 10 years ago.
I'm not gonna write that. I will put that. I will. I'm pretty much done with that project. I will put that behind a paywall here if people want me to do that. By the way, I am still like knee deep. I know like it's gone radio silence, but like I'm gonna be calling it Tanahashi, or I'm sorry, Tanahashi Ace of the Universe. That's the name of my project. And it is going to happen. And I'm pretty sure I'll get the first episode launched here shortly. And then I think I've got a good, research formula and everything like good to go. So I'm pretty sure I can start knocking these out, getting them in the can. And hopefully, I mean, it's still just early April. So I think we can have the entire project done before the Tokyo Dome in January. So that is still happening. But yeah, I mean, I might throw that cage match project behind this paywall, give some people some content. You never know.
Yeah.
We'll get to it, but yeah. I love what they're doing. And I don't know, man, it's just so fucking crazy that like how all this stuff has like blossomed and everything, like, I don't know. It's just, there's a lot of stuff like the reach of our network, and, it's not even something that I directly have a hand in, or even you all the time. It's just, people are inspired by the community that's been built here, and, are passionate about, covering the sport. And yeah, they kind of have just all, I don't know, done their own thing through the course of like the brand. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, so check out the newsletter. And then before we jump into reviews, one last thing, the March Wrestler of the Month and Match of the Month. So we're going to have a little discussion about this on the air because we didn't talk about it before. So for March, for Wrestler of the Month, I think it comes down to three people: David Finlay, Hirooki Goto, and Zack Sabre Jr. Obviously, Finlay and Zack having great New Japan Cup tournaments. Obviously, Finlay winning the tournament, and together they had, in my opinion, the best match of the tournament. And obviously, Hirooki Goto, he had a couple defenses defending against Nagata and Tanahashi in that month, and drawing good houses and just kind of being, the top guy.
Yeah, I think for me, it's easy. Although I think everybody is deserving of mention, I think it's an easy pick for David Finlay personally. I don't know what your feelings are, but that's where I'm headed with that one.
Yeah, I'm also Finlay. 2 weeks ago, we were talking about, MVP of the tournament and stuff like that. We talked about, Zack, yes, might have had the better match quality, but Finlay was definitely the star of the tournament, and right behind Zack in match quality, and won the whole tournament, and to go on to main event Sakura Genesis. So yeah, I'm totally cool with giving David Finlay the March Wrestler of the Month. And then the March Match of the Month, couple options here. We have El Desperado versus Francesco Akira for the junior title, Drilla Maloney versus Tomohiro Ishii, Dave Finlay versus Yuya Uemura, Taichi versus Zack Sabre Jr., Finlay versus Zack Sabre Jr., and Finlay versus Shota Umino from the tournament finals.
This is a tough one because there's a lot of very, very good to great level matches. I don't know if there's one that especially stands out above everything else in the month. I'm pretty torn on this one because like I'm looking at Cage Match and they're kind of all over the place too. And I feel like this was a very like divisive month because I remember you and I kind of liking Taichi and Zack Sabre more than other individuals did. I sort of really loved David Finlay and Shota Umino, and I feel like you did not, even though you liked it, I don't think you liked it as much as I did.
Yeah.
And you and I both really like David Finlay and Zack Sabre Jr., and that's actually lower than those two matches, including lower than Desperado and Francesco Akira, which also kind of feels like slept on now. So a lot happened in the month of March. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's hard. I thought Despi and Akira was really great. And I also love Zach and Finlay. I still think that's the best match of the tournament. Even over.
I think it's the best match I think it's better than Finlay and Umino. As good as, I mean, that one's really great, but it's a tough one.
Yeah. So to me, it would come down between Despi and Akira and Zach Finlay. And I think I'm leaning Zach Finlay.
I'm like trying to remember Despi and Akira. I know it was really great, but like, I'm like, what happened in that match? I guess Desperado won. Okay. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. I'm like having to close my eyes and like picture it. Yeah, to me, Finlay and Sabre is the best match of the month. And that's kind of crazy because it got rated lower than those other three in Cage Match.
That hate for the white man. That's what's going on here.
Oh, that is what it is. That makes sense. Yeah, I told people I was watching White Lotus, and Dan was like, you can't watch that shit. White people suck. And I was like, it's all right. It's good.
All right, so Zach and Finlay stamping it down. March 2025 wrestler or match of the month. Let's jump into the road to Sakura Genesis.
Have you seen this shit that's going on in the One Nation Radio Discord?
Not recently, no.
So James says that I don't know. He was talking about doing all this like crazy, workout stuff, and people were talking about how he needs to wrestle, which I agree. I think he needs to wrestle. And then, Doc was like, "Look, you just need to get Josh in the ring so you guys can have some content." And he's like, "You think I can just talk Josh into taking a violent screwdriver?" And like, I don't know what the fuck that is, So he showed it to me, and I was like, I would take that, but not from James Boyd. And I would need to be paid a lot of money. And I was like, the move's awesome. Now James is like kind of in his feels and hurt because he's like, he thinks I don't trust him, but it's like, bro, I wouldn't take that from like, there's probably a small handful of people I would ever take that move from. They would all have to be about James's size or bigger, but they'd also need to have been in the industry for like a mad number of years. And I'd have to believe that they weren't going to try to hurt me, Like I can't even think of who I might be willing to take that from. Maybe like Brian Cage,
Yeah. Dude, yeah.
And now everyone is in the chat talking about a potential match with us, and then they're talking about wrestling training, and it's just kind of gone off the rails. But
James would clean up on the Florida Indies, man.
I told him, I said, dude, if you went to the school, you did some little roles, and you worked things out on a fucking on a crash pad, then yeah, I'd probably take it from him. I trust him, but that is a fucking dangerous move. Like he wants me to risk my life. Like that's one thing I will tell you. Like a lot of, and you probably know this, but like when you think you know how to do a move and then you go to do it for the first time, and the mechanics are just different than you probably imagined it would be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't. Like also, you watch it and visualize it, and you think it should go one way, and then you're trying to do it, and it's like.
And it's not even just that, but it's also the person you're working with being able to take the move at, that's the one thing that really changes when you actually wrestle. It's like, the way people talk about it is they're like giving a move to somebody, but they don't think about the aspect that like everything is a coordinated effort between both people. So it's like there really is no such thing as offense because you're always working together. There's not an actual, I guess that's the art of wrestling. Like there is no actual conflict taking place. It's a coordinated effort between two people, and they both have to be able to do the moves.
Yeah.
Like I put a GIF up of me taking a blue thunder bomb, and it's so shitty because the person I was working with, who was a great wrestler, but like they never told me I would be taking a blue thunder bomb until we were mid match.
Yeah.
And I'd never done it. So he's just like blue thunder bomb. And I'm like, all right. And like when people call shit in matches and you don't know how to take it, you can't be like, no, you just have to do it. The same thing happened. He told me he was going to give me a Samoan drop, which you would think that would be easy. That was harder because I didn't know how to fucking post for it.
Right. Where to put your hand. That's such a hard move to get ready for.
Have you taken that shit?
Not like the right way.
Bro, I never ever trained it. And he's like, I thought you would have learned that. And I was like, no, I don't have to take a Samoan drop. It's one of the most embarrassing bumps I ever took. But yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah, dude. I'm so glad that I didn't like grow up with like backyard wrestling and like watching the stuff I watch now. Cause I'd be trying to like feed trigger everybody. I'd be trying to do like top rope dragon suplexes, tiger suplexes. Like I'd be trying to wrestle like Shibata and Omega and Ishii and dropping people on their heads.
Bro, Tanahashi talked about how when he was a student professional wrestler, you know about those, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's a student professional wrestler, and he wrestled with Razor Ramon Hardgay and Razor Ramon, what's the other dude's name? There was Hardgay, and then I forget the other dude's name. I don't know. They're both comedians and wrestlers, but he was talking about wrestling those guys when he was in college. And he's like, yeah, we took a Michinoku driver off the fucking top rope. They're like, that's pretty insane. He's like, yeah, but the rings, those training rings are so soft that they're almost like a trampoline. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, we took a Michinoku driver off of the very top rope. And then when he got to the dojo, he found out that Ricky Choshu hated student pro wrestlers. So when he told them his experience, he was like, yeah, I was just an amateur wrestler, and which is true, but he's like, yeah, I amateur wrestled in college. That's all he told them. And like, he didn't admit for like 12 years that he ever did student pro wrestling because all the management hated that shit, you know?
Yeah. Oh man. Well, let's jump into the Sakura Genesis stuff. We got a lot to talk through here. Got lots of questions coming up. So we had a Road 2 show on April 2nd. That was in Yamanashi with 850 in attendance. I'll run through the undercard here and kind of get to the main match. So we had Makabe and Hanma and Wato and Tiger Mask and Yo defeating Tenzan, Murashima, Ninja Mac, Bolton Oleg, and Toru Yano. We had Drillamoni and Sonata defeating Taka and Yuya Uemura. Gabe Kidd, Robbie X, and Taiji Ishimori defeating Hartley Jackson, Vegeta, and Eagles. Cal Newman, Akira, Jacob Austin Young defeating Bushi, Hiromu, and Naito. Then we had Yota Tsuji defeating Yoshinobu Kanemaru by disqualification. So also this was a match to get ready for the global title match. And we had typical Kanemaru working over the knee of Tsuji, trying to soften up the knee for Evil the following night. And then towards the end, Kanemaru was going to try and cheat, and Evil was still doing the whole fair play gimmick that he was doing all throughout the house show tour, and stopped Kanemaru from cheating, but then eventually came in and low-blowed Yota Tsuji, which got the disqualification win, and then they beat down Tsuji and pretty much revealed, like we all guessed, that the whole King of Sports style Evil was all a work, and being evil is his true nature, and so we all expected. Then following that, we had Bishamon and El Desperado defeating the War Dogs of Clark Connors, David Finlay, and Goto in 10 minutes and 4 seconds. And then that took us to the main event of this evening. We had a Tanahashi final road match, and it was Shingo Takagi defeating the ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi, in 20 minutes and 35 seconds. Josh, what do you think about Tanahashi versus Shingo?
So they went longer than I thought they might go here. I don't know. It's a mixed bag, really. Was this anywhere like even remotely kind of on the level of their first two matches that we saw during the pandemic? Like, no. I know a couple weeks ago you talked about when Kojima and Tanahashi wrestled each other, and you said they played the hits, and I said, well, they're not capable of playing the hits anymore. I feel like these guys went a different route. It wasn't so much about nostalgia. It was more so just based on very basic level, bringing things back down to the basics and kind of working a slower style paced match that kind of relied more on, playing up to the live crowd. It's sort of like your main event house show level match, something you might see on like a NXT Largo Loop sort of deal. Mm-hmm. Clearly Shingo like slowed things down for Tanahashi, worked down to his pace. Those guys are really great workers, so they were able to incorporate the crowd and get them invested. And the crowd reactions were really good. Tanahashi, we've talked about it, at this point right now, he's a physical shell of what he used to be. And some nights he's able to turn it on, other nights, not so much. Here, I felt like it was in between. Like he didn't need to totally be Tanahashi. He was able to he was able to play down to where Shingo set the pace. And then, if he needed to hit a sling blade here or there, or a shote, or, a twist and shout, whatever, he was able to do it. Was it great watching Tanahashi run ropes? No.
Bro, watching him run is so painful. And, we'll talk about the Taguchi match as well coming up. But, yeah, him running, it looks like it just hurts his whole soul.
I was going to say, it hurts my soul.
Bro, yeah, I was legit like sad. I was like, oh my gosh, like what happened to this man? Like he can't run.
Time. and I don't think it's gonna get better because of the activity level this year.
Yeah, like he's doing all these singles matches. Like, I think it's gonna get worse. He's missing high fly flows. Like,
well, when you say missing high fly flows, like he's not missing. It's not botched misses.
No, I mean like the guy's moving and he's just eating the mat. Yeah.
Right. Like it's a key aspect of them protecting him, but I don't know if we need the high spot protection where it's like, oh my God, he's going to do it. And then they move like they're fucking Harley race against Kurt Hennig in like 1984. What's your finish, kid?
Yeah.
Like, I go up for a crossbody, sir. He's like, you go for that crossbody, I'll move. That's what Shingo said to Tanahashi on this night. And apparently almost everybody has said that to Tanahashi. So he's hitting the fucking mat like he's Barbaro Cavanario every single night. And it's like,
bro, my dad's a heel wrestler coming true, bro.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Oh,
but
man. At
the same time, there was a lot of people that really hated this match. I didn't think the match was that bad. I would say, like, to me personally, I thought it was like on a higher level than like Kojima and Tanahashi, but lower than like Goto and Tanahashi.
Yeah, this is like, I was probably more like, 3.5, maybe 3.75 range for this.
Right. Which there was a time where Tanahashi wasn't even, his singles matches were not as consistently decent as they are right now, just like say 2 years ago.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a very good match, but obviously if you are comparing it to their previous outings, yes, this was not anywhere close to the world title match or the never title match. And I think a lot of people, when they just see the names Shingo and Tanahashi, they expect it to be great regardless of the state of their bodies. And, Shingo, even though he's still great, he's also kind of slowed down a hair too. Until you have, two older guys, Tanahashi really rough, Shingo slowing down a bit, and we can't expect them to go out there and have 5-star classic.
Yeah, and it begs to question what is the best utilization of Tanahashi throughout this year? Like where strategically should it all fit together? Because there's the one aspect where they could just be doing a lot of multi-man tag matches, kind of putting him in the background, protecting him like they've done for several years. And then there would be the outcry that there's the opportunity to use him more prominently, and they're missing the boat on that. And then there's the way that they're doing it right now, which is like every single tour he's working multiple singles matches, which is like, how, you know, the amount of singles matches, I think you guys mentioned this in the podcast last week. It's like, it's so few and far between, unless you're in a G1, that you see someone in multiple singles matches, and he's having a lot of them already. And we're just a quarter of the way through the year, not even. And you do wonder if it's overkill. Like, I don't know, you know, Tanahashi, he's always had this thing for his whole career where it's like, he was hurt, he was injured, he was falling apart, his biceps, his back, his neck, his shoulders, his, you know, his knees, his hips, all of it was shot, and he was still working G1s. He was still making all the tours. And maybe like, that's the spirit of Tanahashi. Like, he just has to do that at the end of the road. But I do wonder if, is the business payoff worth it? I know that there's like the aspect where every time people go out there, like, this is the last time I'm going to see Tanahashi in Shiba or wherever the fuck they are. But could there be a more attraction-based use for Tanahashi throughout this tour? I don't know if that's the better way. I don't know. I'm actually just genuinely asking, because I don't have a firm opinion. Everyone seems to have a firm opinion on it, and I don't know what the best utilization. Maybe what they're doing is the right way. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I kind of want him to, you know, be in control of his retirement and do what he wants to do, but also at the same time, I'm also concerned about his well-being. Like, is he going to be able to get through to January 2026 and walk to Tokyo Dome? Because he's doing a lot of singles matches, a lot of mileage on that body, and I'm just like, I don't know if is his matches, is it really like bumping up the houses all, doing all these big singles matches, or should they just kind of do them on the bigger shows?
And then there's the aspect where people who are watching, you kind of, you know, I've heard the sentiment where they're like, I don't want to see old man Tanahashi wrestle this prominently this often, because it makes me genuinely sad, you know? And it's like, it's hard to see him go out there. Like, for instance, like, let's do a comparison. You know, in modern times, in very recent modern times, the best utilization of anybody on their way out when it came to their retirement is probably Sting, you know? And Sting wasn't wrestling singles matches. He was only wrestling tag matches. And it was more often than you expected it to be, but a lot less often than Tanahashi's working. And they were able to send him off in a very big, meaningful way. I do think Tanahashi's send-off should be a lot bigger and more meaningful. But I do wonder if there's a better way to... And I don't know, like, there was criticisms to be had about the way they use Sting. I think that there's things they definitely could have done in the ramp up and his way out with their with the way that they marketed and promoted everything. I felt like they missed the boat and missed some key opportunities to make serious money and have special moments. But end of the day, Sting always looked still like he was so protected that he looked like Sting.
Right, and like, also, he's older, but like, Sting could still move. Like, he could still run and like do a Stinger Splash and do a Scorpion Deathlock. Like, he could do his like key stuff without looking bad. I almost feel like should Tanahashi like have to have the Tanahashi match these days? You know, think about Ric Flair. You know, Ric Flair had an incredible run. Like, realistically, I know people can be people don't like to think about Ric Flair these days and everything, because, you know, he's probably definitely a sex pest. But, you know, putting the human aspect aside, Ric Flair is one of my all-time favorite performers. And past 2000 and past like 1990. Okay, let's be realistic here. Past 1996, Ric Flair can't have the Ric Flair match anymore unless he's in there with like Hogan or Sting. That's pretty much the only two guys that he could work with where he could have the Flair match. And beyond past 1999, all he does is have brawls.
Like, he still does the flop. He still begs off. He still comes off the top rope. He still, does the chops and the chop block and figure four, but he really can't wrestle anymore. And he's pretty much just brawling with people and throwing punches and all that. Why can't Tanahashi just do a version of that that's exciting instead of like having him run the ropes, do high impact style speed stuff? Like, why can't he just have his 5 moves of doom to send people home happy, but, work a much less demanding style? It worked for legends of the past. I mean, Riki Choshu and Tenryu and even Nagata and Suzuki and all those guys ended up kind of converting their style. But like, Tanahashi's still trying to work a version of what he did in 2009, 2010. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's just pride and kind of wanting to go out the way he wants and how people expect. And he's like, this is the last time people are going to see me, so I want to give them, the Tanahashi match for the last time. And so that's probably what it is.
I wish that he would have modified his style several years ago.
Right.
To where it was like Tanahashi ass kicker, but yeah, he still pulls out. I mean, think about the basics of what Tanahashi does and it's part of the reason why he's been able to get by for so long. It's like, other than the high fly flow, most of what he does that's considered like signature stuff, it's not that demanding. It's
Dragon Screw, Shote, Sling Blade, Dragon Suplex,
a senton.
Yeah.
Cloverleaf. Cloverleaf. Like, but it's the in-between stuff. He's still trying to work the house show style, and he's still, he's doing the chain grappling and he's doing the rope running and the big bumps and he's still wrestling. He doesn't need to wrestle anymore. He could just be a grumpy old man and fucking fight people and then just do his basic shit.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be killing himself. I don't know. Like, I guess, and we're kind of just shouting into the ether because even though we're being critical and we're offering some critical analysis, like, it's not going to change. He's going to keep doing what he does until the wheels fall off. And I'm hoping it doesn't happen before January 6th. Honestly.
Yeah.
I'm nervous about Friday.
Yeah. He's got a tough challenge there in Konosuke Takeshita. We'll get to previewing that. So that was the main event of the April 2nd show. And then jumping to April 4th, we had Sakura Junior Genesis in Korakuen Hall with a sellout crowd of 1,490. Show opened up, we had Mao and Iya Koroku from DDT Pro Wrestling defeating Katsuya Murashima and Ninja Mac. Post-match, Mao cut a promo, essentially kind of teasing that he would be in Best of the Super Juniors, which we would later find out he is a part of the lineup. So fun opening match there. Good to have some fresh
That's my favorite to win.
Mao?
Picking Mao.
Okay. Interesting pick.
I'm down with the Mao. No, I'm just playing. He's not winning.
So then following that, we had Tanahashi defeating Ryusuke Taguchi 8 minutes 16 seconds. And also very comedy-based matchup here. Lots of butt stuff. Probably more of the least like high-impact match Tanahashi's had thus far. And Tanahashi gets the win over Ryusuke Taguchi.
I think that's disrespectful for big match Taguchi, to be honest. Like, if everybody else is going to beat Tanahashi, Taguchi should just beat him too.
Yeah, I don't think Taguchi, I think based on the record, I don't think he's ever beaten Tanahashi.
I don't think he has either. They've had quite a few matches, but yeah, I don't think he's ever beat him.
Yeah, so that was a good matchup there. Tanahashi getting a nice win, patting the record there over Taguchi. And then after that, we had Empire Team, Cal Newman, Jacob Austin, and Jeff Cobb defeating Bushi, Hiromu, and Naito. Then we had Shingo and Yota Tsuji defeating the House of Torture team of Vic Togo and Evil. Then we had Bishamon, Wato, and Yo defeating the War Dogs of Finlay, Drilla, Gabe, and Gato. And then we got down to the two big matches of the evening. First, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team title match. We had the Ichiban Sweet Boys, Kosei Fujita and Robbie Eagles defeating the War Dogs team of Robbie X and Taiji Ishimori.
I was a little surprised, to be honest with you, that the Ichiban Sweet Boys retained here. Not that I'm not a big fan of them. They're very, very good, but it's also like the junior tag titles, and we have had some lengthy reigns, but usually when you have like a lengthy reign, like the ones that the Bullet Club War Dogs had, afterwards you just kind of hot potato that shit around until they decide to like go with someone pretty consistently. But for now, they've decided like Kosei and Robbie are the guys, which, truth be told, deep down, I was kind of hoping they would come off of these belts a little bit, because not that I'm not a fan of theirs, but you know, them coming off the belts in April or like late March, early April would mean come May, both of them are much more viable contenders for Super Juniors, but them retaining here kind of precludes them from going deep. And I sort of feel like maybe it's time to try Robbie out. You know what I mean? I mean, we did it before, but it was during pandemic. Like, it might be time, but they're not going to do that. But this match was really awesome. I think that this team has been fantastic for a very long time. And it's not even like they've teamed for a long time, but for the entirety of their run, they've been so impressive. And then, you know, the Robbie X thing is kind of interesting, because there are these like kind of naysayers that exist out there. They don't think he should be like in the company. They don't like him for whatever reason. But I wouldn't say that I'm overly impressed with Robbie X, but I think that he is just flashy enough and just technical enough to kind of get the pass for me. Like, I don't look at him and think like, oh, that's a star. But I always think that in comparison to like, say, a Jacob Austin Young, who is like perfectly serviceable, but just a guy, I think Robbie X has enough like flash and technical acumen to where I'm like, we're going to get something really good when he gets in the ring. And I sort of feel like Taiji Ishimori, you know, he's so, like, we've seen him for so many years just kind of go through the motions. He needs someone to kind of invigorate him, and that's sort of what Robbie X is doing here. And he's a hungry guy, like, clearly. And I thought the match was good. I liked it a lot, and I love this idea of having a junior-themed, like, show just before the show, you know?
Yeah, because, you know, had this match in the main event been on the main Sakura Genesis, I mean, they would have gotten cut for time. There's no way they would have been able to go, you know, almost 20 minutes in this match, then almost 40 in the main event. So both these matches getting plenty of time, getting time to breathe, and you know, you got a packed, sold out Cork and Hall crowd that's hot for everything. And yeah, I think Robbie X is awesome, and I think, like you mentioned, he's flashy enough to where he's gonna get oozing off from the crowd. And plus, I just think he's a guy that I feel like makes the most of the moments he has. Like, he knows that he's only has, you know, limited dates, so he's only going to be in for certain tours, and I feel like he goes out every night and he's doing, you know, the spiral taps and the crazy dives and the moves and the flips and like getting over and like having some like impressive outings.
And the thing with that is, even if, and we've seen evidence of this in the past, where like the Western audience doesn't always get it right when it comes to certain people. And when I say the Western audience, I'm talking about the whole hemisphere, you know, whether that's like Europe or America or whatever. But like, there's some guys that like the Western audience just happens to be late on. And what really matters in Japan is getting over with the domestic crowd. If you can get over with the domestic crowd, then it will eventually translate to the Western audience, or those smart people like us, KISS. And yeah, I'm impressed. Every time I see Robbie X, I'm impressed. Like, I don't know if I see him and I think like Hall of Famer, junior heavyweight world, junior heavyweight champion or whatever, but I think he's a very welcome addition, and I think he could potentially break out and be somebody in the division.
Yeah, I think he's a great guy to have in that division. I think him and Ishimori, for only teaming a few times, they blend really well together as well. And so I think they're a team that you can kind of rotate in and out and have them be a part of Super Junior Tag Leagues and be guys challenging for the Junior Tag Team titles. And I know he's not on the lineup for Super Juniors this year, but I think that in the future, he's definitely a guy that should be considered for a Super Junior spot, and I'm sure he would make the most of that opportunity. And yeah, he's just a really, I think, dynamic guy. Yeah, he doesn't have like the best, maybe cosmetic look, or to some people they might not find him as charismatic, but I don't know. I feel like he brings the right energy, especially being in the War Dogs, and I just feel like he goes out there, he makes the most of every opportunity he gets, and does a lot of really cool stuff.
That's where I'm a little bit differing with you. I don't know that I love his inclusion in the War Dogs. To me, I'm a little concerned about the direction of the War Dogs, because I loved when, and this is actually a conversation I've been wanting to have on the show for a few weeks now. I loved when the War Dogs just persisted as this small, tight-knit group of individuals that sort of facilitated the like vision of what David Finlay considered to be the true ethos of the Bullet Club, right? Mm-hmm. And it kind of reminded me at a certain time that they kind of were similar to what the Elite were, a sub-unit within a unit that eventually like broke out and became their own thing. And I felt like that's what the War Dogs could become, but they've kind of had to acquiesce to probably what I would imagine is management's desire for the Bullet Club War Dogs to be, where they included Jake Lee, then they included Sonata, which is like, that's 2 Japanese dudes. This is a Western group. They don't need to be having Japanese dudes. Then they included Ishimori. Like, I'm not trying to be racist, but like, got to be a little racist, because these are white dudes. If LIJ doesn't have to include any white people, and the only Westerner they ever had was, Jay Lethal and Jay Lethal, I don't know why the War Dogs couldn't potentially have just been a tight-knit group, but now they're starting to become a little bit bloated and including people to where it's like they got Chase Owens, they got Robbie X, they got Taiji Ishimori, and these people don't fit into what the vision of the War Dogs was supposed to be. They're basically just Bullet Club now.
Yeah.
Which I don't like that.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of the direction they had to go based off of the whole fight on who's the real Bullet Club, and you kind of had to figure out, what are you doing with the rest of the guys? Ishimori and Chase and Fale, like, where they kind of land in this whole Civil War thing. And yeah, I'm not a fan of guys like, I don't think Chase is a great fit. I do like Ishimori in it. I think he kind of fits like having a junior guy, especially with Drilla moving up, and then Clark's a guy I feel like could potentially move the heavyweight eventually too, but he's kind of the main junior guy right now. I feel like Ishimori kind of fits a good spot in that junior, and then Robbie X is not there all the time. I feel like he's kind of a good guy that's kind of have come every once in a while, teaming with Ishimori. But I do agree with you, your main point. I do feel like as a whole, I kind of liked it with it just being like Finlay, Connors, Coughlin, Gabe Kidd. Like, that's the War Dogs, and then you have your
they added Drilla, and Drilla's like,
yeah, and Drilla
clearly War Dogs. You know what I mean? Like, these guys, they look like fucking killers. They act like killers. They fuck. They drink. They don't give a fuck. They bleed. They brawl.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost very similar to like OG Bullet Club kind of energy.
Yeah, and that's what I liked about it. And we can't have good things now. and I know you said that like they sort of had to do this, but like I would have just been like, I don't know, you guys don't have enough money to sign Naito. Who's to say I don't call Uncle Tony? You know what I mean? Like, give me what I want. I might call Sean. See what's going on with Mr. Hickenbottom. I could do some. I could roll. I could do some rolls at the PC. It's fine. Call up Carl. See what's good.
Which Carl?
What's his face?
Anderson?
No, the other Carl.
Fredericks?
Yeah.
I'm blanking what his WWE name is right now.
Are we thinking that? Are we thinking that the Good Brothers are coming in or no? It seems like they're going to AEW.
Yeah, I know. Carl Anderson posted a picture like in his AEW like tracksuit or whatever. So it seems like that. There's also a tease on MLW that they were gonna make an appearance there. So.
Bro, that is the most Bobby Fish level shit ever. To like, posts to make it seem like you're going to AEW, but you ultimately end up like they're going to be working MLW and NWA. Like for sure, they're going to be NWA World Tag Team Champions. Carl Anderson is going to be NWA World's Heavyweight Champion for sure.
He did post in his Twitter bio G1 2025 finalists.
Yeah, that's some bullshit. He's not working no G1. Oh my God. If he's working a tournament, it's going to be the Jim Crockett Senior Memorial Tag Team.
Oh man. The MLW Opera Cup.
Yeah, he'll be working Opera Cup is what he's going to be doing. A tradition hundreds of years old, Stu Hart held that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We have a couple questions on the.
He's gonna be Maple Leaf Pro inaugural
tag
World Heavyweight Champion. Oh, I'm not even thinking about Big LG. He's done. Like he's just a tag along guy.
Yeah, him and his wife did start some kind of business. So yeah, he might actually be.
He's muscle, bro. He's gonna show. He'll be there. He's not taking bumps. He's gonna be muscle, heavy.
Yeah. A couple questions here.
Hold on. I'm sorry, but I gotta ask you this. It's on the top of my mind. How much would you pay to see a Gallows versus Top Dollar match live?
I would not pay at all.
Bro, that would be so intriguing to me for how bad it would be. I would absolutely pay money. They wouldn't even have to let me into that, into that MLW show for free like they always do. I'd gladly give them my money to go see Top Dollar wrestle Gallows.
Oh my gosh, that's Botchmania waiting to happen. Def Triangle 720 asks, do you think the junior tag division could run into a problem when they don't have legit teams around the division? Jet Sitters are out for however long. Catch 2-2 is dead now, and Drilla is heavyweight now. All we're left with is Robbie X and Ishimori, which are a great team, but that's it for legit teams.
I don't know what this whole deal is with okay. I guess now I wasn't here last week. We can kind of address the elephant in the room. Kevin Knight, right? People are so fucking pissed. What has changed about Kevin Knight and his status with New Japan? You tell me, Jeremy.
As of right now, it's the same. I mean, Kevin Knight, if you actually look at his New Japan dates, I mean, he's always kind of been a more of a part-timer since the pandemic and New Japan Strong has gone away. I mean, he started working Impact. Yeah, he works Best Super Juniors. He works Super Junior Tag League. If he's a junior tag champion, they'll bring him in for some of the big shows. He'll work all the U.S. shows, but he's not doing a full Japan schedule, and that's what we're seeing here. I mean, he's going to be in Super Juniors. He's going to be at Windy City Riot on Friday. Like, it looks like his Japan schedule is going to be about the same.
So I did agree with what you said on the show last week, that this is a guy that, if we can afford to fly in fucking, Dolph Ziggler, we should be able to cough up a couple dollars here and there to figure out how to keep, Kevin Knight around. That being said, in terms of what the deal with AEW and New Japan is, like, nothing has changed. The guy is going to be working New Japan just as often as or at least for now, just as often as he was when he was working with Impact. Like, nothing has changed, but people are so, not only are they angry that he's at AEW because they're anti-AEW, they're also like anti-Kevin Knight because he's getting paid more and he's on a more prominent company. That I didn't see the match, but I heard the match with him and Will Ospreay like fucking rock.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So it's like, why would we think that, the Intergalactic Jet Setters is done? Like, there's been no confirmation that they're done. In fact, is he not working?
Yeah, him and Kushida are challenging World Class Wrecking Crew on Friday.
Yeah, they're working that. He's working Super Juniors, right?
Mm-hmm, yep.
So, I don't know. The other thing, too, to answer that question is, like, I don't know, bro. It's the junior tag division. They never have teams, like, ready-made. They kind of just throw people together as need be. And the talent level of the division is deep enough to usually carry it forward. I know people like to get invested into the actual teams themselves, but I'm just, unless it's the Young Bucks or Roppongi 3K, like, I'm not one of those individuals because for my money, those are the only two teams that have persisted as like real tag teams in this division. Like, I don't know what other tag teams in the past like 8 years were real tag teams in this division.
Yeah, those are the ones that come to mind. I mean, I think a lot of people obviously really enjoyed having Catch 22, Jet Setters, Drilla and Clark, and Ichiban Sweet Boys.
But those aren't real tag teams. Those are all like quote unquote tag teams where you've taken two people that exist in a faction together, and for the purpose of questing for the titles within the division, they exist, but they're not primarily solely just a tag team.
Yeah.
The Young Bucks were just a junior tag team. They didn't have any aspirations to go after the big boy belt. And neither did Roppongi 3K for the longest fucking time. Those two teams were like actual tag teams, and everybody else was just playing around them. Even like Red Dragon wasn't like really as real as Red Dragon was outside of New Japan. Within New Japan, they like sort of had more leg room to spread their wings as singles guys.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, this whole thing where it's like there's not tag teams. There's always never any tag teams. It's the junior division. Like,
well, it's just New Japan. Look at both tag divisions. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
And speaking of tag teams, we did have Master Wato and Yo come out post match to challenge Ichiban Sweet Boy. So at a future date, that will be the next tag match there. So again, kind of your point, throwing together two guys that don't have anything going on in Wato and Yo to be the next challengers.
And how many teams has Yo been on where he's been mishmashed with other guys? And I'm not even complaining about it. That's a good thing. Same thing with Wato, It just is the nature of how they book. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. It is what it is.
Yeah, I feel like there are enough juniors to where you can throw teams together, especially now with Hantai being as big as it is. Like, there's a bunch of juniors in there that you can mix and match and get new challengers whenever you need. He also asked thoughts on Robbie X and Ishimori as a team. By the end of the tag title match, I was a fan of Robbie X. The only thing missing is a proper character.
I don't know what proper character. What was Prince Devitt's character? You tell me what Prince Devitt's character was in New Japan, and then we'll talk about Robbie X's character.
He was the real rock and roller.
And there you go. What's Robbie X's catchphrase? I'm sure he's got one.
He's extreme.
Poof. He's part of Team Extreme. Him, Lita. Matt Hardy's kid, Matt Hardy's wife, Matt Hardy's father-in-law.
The dilapidated boat.
The dilapidated boat, all of them.
Scars God.
Bro, I haven't, you know what? Like, I fucking love those. I don't want to go off a tangent, but I love those TNA matches. I don't give a fuck.
Bro, yeah, the broken stuff, the original broken stuff in TNA.
The original broken stuff is so good. I don't care. When people are like, wrestling can be fun, but the shit that they like sucks. The stuff that's like wrestling can be fun. It's Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy shooting Roman candles at each other in their backyard.
Brother Nero, I knew you'd come.
Oh my God.
Man. All right. Going on to the main event, IWGP Junior Heavyweight title match, a hardcore rules. We have the champion El Desperado retaining over 100 proof Clark Connors in 37 minutes and 53 seconds.
Do you want my hot take?
Yeah.
The wrong guy won. This was supposed to be a white man's spring. Okay. No, but all kidding aside, like, why the fuck couldn't Clark Connors win the title here?
Well, I guess they figured they want Despy as champion going into Super Juniors.
For what? We don't need that shit. You know, we need a white man to be on top with, no, but all seriousness, like, all joking aside, I really thought that there was a good opportunity to put the title on Clark Connors, because we've seen very recently these pushes to, push forward the guys that came out of like the LA dojo. Like, we've been waiting a long time for a lot of them to kind of get their opportunity to be like pushed forward, especially like guys in the War Dogs. Not all of them are from the dojo, but there's sort of like a camaraderie there. And like, we've seen Gabe Kidd get pushed forward. We've seen them start to break out Drilla. And you kind of mentioned how with the War Dogs, we're at this kind of precipice where it's like, who is the top junior? And for now, it's like, that's Clark. And I understand that what they aimed to do with this match is establish him as a real player and make him somebody that moving forward, we can all kind of believe in. And I think that was accomplished, and that is all good and great. But let's not forget, this is the junior title. You know what I mean? Like, the junior title is not like the IWGP. Like, this is one where we can exchange that shit. And like, Despy is good. Like, Despy wins it, fine. Like, there's going to be business behind it. We're going into the Super Juniors. That's all well and good. But it's like, we could have done something fresh and new. If they can afford to put the title on Show last year, there's no good reason that they couldn't afford to put the title on Clark Connors. And the way that they worked this match, how dominant Clark Connors was for a vast majority of the match, it did remind me of like when Brock Lesnar fucked up John Cena in like 2013, where I was like, fuck, bro, like, they should just go all in with this guy right now. And that would kind of give that push and edge to War Dogs, but it would really establish Clark. We've been waiting for so many years for Clark Connors to like really be a guy. And like, War Dogs, the junior tag team run was really cool, and he's had some great matches, but it's like, as good as this was and as awesome of a push as it was, I think they needed to go the extra mile and just fucking belt him up and have him wreck Despy. And then the talking point coming out of it would have been like, holy shit, there's a new boss in the junior division, and it's Clark Connors, and there's fresh excitement. And instead, it's like, it's Despy, and Despy is awesome. The match was great, but it's kind of just status quo. I wanted them to do something fresh and new here.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting Despy to win going into it. I mean, I did thought like it. I think like this whole push you mentioned with Clark has been great. A lot of the promo videos that he's been doing and his promos and just the preview matches and then getting to hear, like, he had the great entrance gear. He came out with all the War Dogs. He had Tekla out there with him as well. And he's done a really great job getting over with the crowd and, being that kind of tough, rugged guy in the War Dogs. And so, yeah, I think everything they're doing with Clark has been great. And, I mean, yeah, it would have been cool if he would have won, but I totally expected Despy to win just because they are going into Super Juniors. And, I know not always do they put the champion on somebody strong, but I feel like they probably want to capitalize on him and give him a run and run numbers up. And plus, with Despy as champion going into Super Juniors, it significantly lowers the chances that he will win or get to the final. So that's probably another reason why they want to keep the bill on him, so you can kind of get some fresh people in the finals.
I still think it's the wrong move.
What do you think about the actual match?
With the actual match, I was a little torn because I had mixed feelings. Like, I don't know if it needed to go 40 minutes. That seemed a little bit long in the tooth. I am surprised. I saw the cage match scores and people are kind of like low on this match, like 7.77. I feel like that's a little under where I was when it was all said and done. But it also did almost go 40 minutes. So I could kind of see what the issues. I haven't read anyone else's reviews to see what they do or don't feel like. But I bet you it's probably like there was some plottingness to it. It was a little bit long in the tooth. I'm sure that's what the major criticism probably was. For me, I felt like early on it wasn't getting to where it needed to go. And then at a certain point, I was like, this is very like light in terms of like the violence. Like, it's after watching Desperado do that crazy ass death match, I'm like, this is not, it's kind of like WWE plunderish.
Bro, that's exactly what I thought for the first half of the match. I'm like, this is your WWE match where like they're setting weapons up and they're like oh, I'm gonna hit you. Like, and they're kind of like, feinting like the spots and like not getting hit with the chairs and tables. And it was kind of more of like a hardcore WWE 24/7 style of match for the beginning. And yeah, it wasn't as violent. I was kind of like, all right, when's this picking up? And then they started brawling the crowd. Clark got the kendo sticks and like bashed Despy over the head with the kendo sticks.
Clark beat his ass so fucking bad, bro. Like, that's where I started to get worried, where I was like, this is a little, not like much from like a violence standpoint, but like, it was dangerous for like the crowd's sake. Like, the crowd wasn't getting out of the way, and the splinters that were coming off of. Let me ask you this, Jeremy. Have you ever used a real kendo stick in real life?
No.
I was fortunate enough to happen upon a garage sale when I was 12 years old, where they happened to be selling 4 kendo sticks for $1 each. And I was lucky enough to have owned, a few kendo sticks, and pretty dangerous. Like, they hurt like fucking shit. And if you hit them hard enough, they splinter off and like can get in people. And like, they're like right by the crowd and like they're splintering and everything. I didn't like that shit. Like, I was like, damn, like whoever's trying to protect the crowd is not doing a great job. That kind of made me nervous. But then like I saw how bad like Desperado was getting fucked up, and I was like, this is kind of awesome, because like Clark looks like a badass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, I thought that did a lot to make him look like this vicious kind of bully that Despy had to overcome. And so, yeah, I feel like that was the spot where the match kind of started leaning more into the violence, with Clark unleashing the kendo sticks. And then, he got the glass bottle, broke that, and was going to attempt to, scratch Despy with it. But then Despy got it and rubbed the glass over Clark's head, which got Clark busted open. And then from there, that's when they kind of do a little bit more crazy stuff, that the violence kind of started picking up, and they were doing bigger and bigger spots. And then, of course, the spot everybody's talking about, where they had the double table set up, and Despy did a spine buster off the top to the outside through the double tables to Clark, which was an absolutely insane spot.
Yeah, that's got to be one of the craziest big bumps to a table that I've ever seen, even though like it's not like, oh, they did like a 450. It's like they were so high and the impact is so sudden. And I was just like, what the fuck? I actually was watching this live, and I had to feed my dog, and I knew we were getting close to the finish. And I walked away for 2 seconds, and then I missed whatever had happened. And I was like, fuck. And I had to like rewind it. I just couldn't believe what they ended up doing. There was one part where they teased doing a suplex off of the second like floor, kind of like the, I don't know what you would call that, but it reminded me of like how the Orpheum is set up in Ebor.
Yeah, a little kind of like mini stage thing they have by the entrance.
Yeah, they teased doing just a standard suplex off of the stage. I was like, please don't do that. That would be like almost worse than anything else they did in the whole entire match. When he broke that glass, it reminded me of the '83 Tiger Mask and Dynamite Kid match where Dynamite Kid broke the glass and like tried to fucking jab Tiger Mask in the face with the broken glass. So yeah, I knew he was going to break that because he wrapped tape all around the bottle. Mm-hmm. I did wonder, I'm like, is this gimmicked alcohol? Like, because, fucking Desperado had all of these splints all over his body, and then he was spraying the alcohol on him to burn him. And I'm like, is it real alcohol or is it just sweet tea? Like,
worked alcohol.
Are we working with the alcohol? What are we doing here? But when he wrapped it with tape, I was like, he's definitely going to try and break this shit because he doesn't want it to fully shatter. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But that's the thing with like, okay, like with New Japan, I'm always nervous when they do shit because they don't have the money to really gimmick shit. Like with WWE, it's like, that what they're doing is going to be highly gimmicked.
It's going to be Hollywood.
Yeah, it's quasi safe. Like the tables are sawed through, the ladders are, wood and fiberglass or whatever. But like with New Japan, when they're going to work with glass, like
real glass, cry me a river,
sugar glass, like they're doing real fucking glass. Like, Like, so yeah, I was nervous about the glass. I was nervous about that shit, but ultimately I thought the match was effective. I did think the wrong guy went over. Like at the end of it all, I was like, you want to establish this guy as a bully. What makes him so? It reminded me of like when Vader didn't beat Shawn. And he should have beat Shawn so that Shawn could come back and get the comeuppance. And I'm like, what's the interesting story you really got for Despy going into the second half of the year? I know we're not going to talk about it today, but it's like we got the best of the Super Juniors, lineups, and it's all well and good. But like, I don't know. Are you angling for Watto to be the guy to come back and get that lifetime run against Despy after all these years? Or is that the story that we're all like clamoring for? Like what's out there left for him? If not, if we're not going to have Doki come back and get that belt back.
Well, maybe that is what's going to happen. We don't know how long Doki's going to be out for, but maybe that's going to be the story.
Too far away. It's time for them to have belted somebody else up. Like Doki's had this title, Despy's had this title a bunch of fucking times. He doesn't need to be a juggernaut. You know who's a juggernaut?
Clark Connors.
Clark Connors is a fucking juggernaut. Clark Connors should have won that title. Especially going through that table. Don't be mad when Tony Khan comes calling with a 6-figure paycheck and signs that dude up, and he's like, "Oh, you want to go through tables? We got tables.
we got the safe tables.
We got tables. We got crash pads. We got all of it. You want to be on pay-per-view? We got pay-per-view, bro."
Yeah.
You want to be in the Bang Bang Gang? Get ready.
So yeah, Despy got the win. Pinche Loco on Clark Connors. Post match, they did share a drink, and Despy got Clark's respect there for a little bit, and that led to the post match promo. And then we had Templario representing United Empire calling out, challenging Despy for a junior title match for a date to be determined.
Bullshit. Who the fuck did Templario ever beat?
He beat Volador at Fantastic Mania.
Is that it?
No, he lost to Volador. That's what I'm saying.
He lost.
So
I'm gonna pull up Templario's New Japan We're just gonna go strictly based off of New Japan's kayfabe, right?
Yeah.
You can continue, but I'm gonna pull this shit up. I'm gonna see what this man has actually done in this company.
All right. Well, while you're getting that pulled up, that will take us to Sakura Genesis, which happened Saturday, April 5th from Ryogoku. We had an attendance of 6,640 this year. In 2024, it was 6,632 with the Naito Tsuji main event. 2023, we had Sonata and Okada with 6,510. And then in 2021, with the Ospreay Ibushi main event, we had 4,484.
I got you, bro. Here we go. New Japan Pro Wrestling. In the entirety of this man's career, we're talking about just broadcasted shows and just singles matches. How many New Japan singles matches do you think Templario has ever won?
I'm gonna
What's
say
your over under?
I'm gonna say he's won at least 3.
He's had 3 singles matches ever in the company. He has won 0 singles matches in the history of New Japan Pro Wrestling.
I thought he would have had more singles on Fantastica Mania.
Bro, I would have thought so too, but they're saying that he's had, in his whole career, he's had 17 wins out of 30 matches. But let's take away the broadcasted shows. We'll just go to regular shows. New Japan. Yep. 3 singles matches, no wins.
Wow.
Does that sound like someone who should be challenging for the IWGP heavyweight or junior heavyweight title?
Nah. But Sakura Genesis, this attendance number looking really good here. So 6,640 up from last year, 6,632 up from 23, 6,510, and way up from 2021's 4,484. So the Goto Revolution continuing to go well with these attendance numbers.
Apparently.
What do you mean apparently?
Well, definitely, apparently, because the man didn't fucking lose.
Yeah, the Goto Revolution rolls on. We'll get to that. Show opened up. We had Katsuya Murashima defeating Daiki Nagai, 8 minutes and 13 seconds. So continuing their series of Young Lion matches, Daiki Nagai failing to get a win yet over Murashima. And Murashima getting another win here.
Daiki Nagai, people like him, but he's a fucking loser. They say he's got a chip on his shoulder. They say he's going to be a war dog. They say he reminds him of Suzuki, but he can't even beat Murashima. So I don't know how the fuck they think he's going to be some top star in this company. He's a fucking loser.
Yeah, and I thought Murashima, I don't know, he's starting to win me over. He's been looking really good in his latest outings, singles and tags, and he's doing a lot more strikes. He's doing the big, Oklahoma power slam. He's looking really good.
They're not going to win me over. I watched. Why are you laughing about that?
This is burying them, man. I couldn't let him get you over.
Listen, I watched Oka when he was a young lion, and I let them win me over, and I've had to endure what Okan became. And I watched Watanabe when he was a fucking young lion, and I've seen what this man has become. I know what this archetype of wrestler coming out of the dojo becomes in Bushiroad's New Japan. A gimmick. This man's gonna be a fucking gimmick. You know how we always say, like, you can't really, people are always like, out of this crop of young lions that are coming out, who do you think is going to be the ace? What do you see as the projection of these guys? I can't tell you most of the time, but when a dude like Murashima shows up and he starts like slamming people and throwing big strikes and showing fighting spirit, he's going to be a gimmick. He's going to be a gimmick is what he's going to be in Bushiroad. He's not handsome. He's not built like a bodybuilder. He's not a matinee idol. He's going to be a gimmick. So he's going to be like Okan or Evil. If you like those dudes, you're going to love Murashima. Mark my words. Write this down, Jeremy. Write down the timestamp for
this
when I call
this
this
documented.
Shit. Document this shit, because in 5 years, Murashima is going to be for sure. If he's not in a power tag team first, he's going to be a gimmick.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully not. But I mean, the track record speaks for itself. Following that, we had Yuya Uemura defeating Sonata in 10 minutes and 26 seconds. Sonata coming out with his Seth Rollins red rubber boots, had the Jeff Jarrett guitar, the Seth Rollins like outfit. No speakers this time, but pretty quick matchup here. Uemura tapping out Sonata.
What's the deal with the speakers? He only got them once, and then he never brought them back out. I sort of thought that was going to become like a big match. Like
I think he wore them twice.
Do you think he had to rent that shit?
Maybe.
You think he doesn't own that? Like he was like, all right, this is what I need. They're like, it's going to be this much money. He's like, can I rent that?
Let me get it twice. Let me.
He's like, I only need it 2 times. Oh God. But yeah, knowing what we would know later in the night, it made a lot of sense, but a pretty easy and unenthusiastic tap coming from Sonata here, which is, I guess it forwards the story. It doesn't necessarily, present Yuya Uemura as a world beater in the strongest light, but it is interesting booking, I suppose, because it speaks to what we've been seeing for a while when it comes to Sonata and his sort of like unbalanced behavior within the War Dogs.
Yeah, I felt a little bit weird. I kind of expected Sonata. I thought Sonata was going to win. He lost to Yuya in the New Japan Cup, and based on what was happening later, you think it would have made sense for him to like cheat and win, and then kind of have some momentum going into the turn, and then doing whatever he's going to do with House of Torture. But yeah, he just kind of does the quick tap out to the armbar and loses, and I don't really think that necessarily made you look super great, because it's like this guy clearly just kind of quickly didn't even try to get out of the armbar, and so like
yep.
did he really win, or was he just, trying to save himself for later? And so hopefully this kind of ends the whole Yuya Sonata feud. He has 2 wins over this guy now. Like, Yuya needs to get as far away from Sonata and House of Torture and go do something else. So hopefully that's
one of the most offensive things we ever did in our lives, Jeremy.
What?
The time when we watched Fred Yehai and Joey Janela wrestle for 40 minutes in Ewar. And like 20 minutes into the match, we started, chanting, "Just go home." Those guys didn't deserve to get the "Just go home" chant, but we chant. I'm sure that somewhere, do they still have the Evolve like library? Is that like a?
I think Club WWN is still up.
I think if you go to Club WWN and you watch the Fred Yehai, if you go to Cage Match, I don't remember where it was. It was definitely in Tampa, but if you look up the match it was definitely it wasn't an Evolve show. It was a ACW.
Was it FIP?
It was a FIP. Yeah. If you find the FIP show where Fred Yehai wrestled Joey Janela and they wrestled like 40 minutes, you're going to hear a small swath of individuals, basically just social suplex, chanting, "Just go home, just go home." And it persisted. They just kept going and going and going. That's where we're at when it comes to Sonata versus Yuya Uemura. Like, there is a large portion of us that are like, just fucking end this shit. I don't need to see any more Just 5 Guys lore. Just go home. This is it. We're done. Like,
yeah, hopefully I don't want, this should be the feud ender. Like, both guys just need to move on. Like, this is doing Yuya no favors. Let's try something else now.
I guarantee you in 3 years from now, someone's going to, on this show, someone's going to mention Just 5 Guys. We're like, fucking forgot that was the thing.
And they are all part of Hantai now, but they're still collectively Just 4 Guys. They are a subunit in Hantai as Just 4 Guys. So they're keeping the music.
Last time that happened was what's it called? What was that group called? GOD.
Yeah, Girls Destiny. Yeah.
So these guys might all get signed by Vince. Oh yeah, Vince doesn't do the signing. These guys might all get signed by Paul Levesque.
Yeah.
We'll see. Nick Khan.
They did have some new Just 4 Guys shirts, so they're trying to keep the merch train going.
That's what you do when you're about to leave. You get some new merch out so you can get the quick payday before you make the next town.
So following that, we had the NJPW World Television Championship match as Great Okan defeats El Phantasmo by count out to become the new TV champion.
Why can't this dude just have like good, consistent fucking matches? I don't get it. And I'm concerned. And specifically, I'm talking about Great Okan. And is this just going to become KOPW like 2.0? Because that feels like where we're about to head with this title.
Yeah, they did kind of tease that on commentary and how, Okan his goal was to make that KOPW, the rural revitalization. Now he's going to be the world TV champion. He wants to go all around the world and be on TV. And so, yeah, it does kind of feel like it could go a KOPW route. I don't know if the whole stipulation thing, hopefully not. We'll see what happens. I mean, I thought this match was good. I actually thought it was better than their New Japan Cup match. I feel like there was a bit more urgency. Phantasmo was kind of, going quick from the bell. They play the story up of him with the hurt shoulder from the TJP match, the horrible tape job on the shoulder. And I felt like there was a little bit more urgency from Okan as well to try and put Phantasmo away. And then you have the big finish where he does the TDD to Phantasmo on a chair on the outside to get the count out win.
And I guess that's fine. And, there's probably some surprise from those individuals that are listening. They're like, I thought you fucking loved these count out finishes. This is your shit right here. But it's like, I don't know. Like, it feels in this specific instance like a cop out. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, it didn't feel like a definitive win, which I think that's probably what they were going for. Like, they didn't want to necessarily beat Phantasmo, but then they also want to push Ocon. It's like, all right, like, why'd you book this match if you didn't want to beat either guy?
Exactly. You know, when I ran my own wrestling league on my iPhone, I made the executive tough decisions. There's certain guys I want to beat, but you got to do it, you know, and I don't know. They don't got the balls like I do when it comes to booking a territory. No, but in all seriousness, I really am like, I don't know. It feels like this is multiple times now with this title where we've had count out finishes, kind of screw job finishes. And, you know, it was easy for the first year when you could just strap up Zack Sabre Jr., tell him to go out there and wrestle 12 to 14 minutes and get something great out of his opponent and just kind of let him exist in his own world. But now it has become like, oh, this is a real title that has real stakes and like a lineage behind it. We need to figure out what to do with it. And they haven't figured that out. They've had some really good champion like talent, but I think the hardest part about it is that a TV title, and maybe it's taken me only till now to come to this realization about what the fundamental flaw about having a New Japan World quote unquote TV title. A TV title only works when you have weekly television. Mm-hmm. You know, the whole allure of Arn Anderson or Johnny B. Bad or, you know, Rick Steamboat or you know, Larry Zbyszko, the list goes on and on. These guys, you know, Bobby Eaton, whoever the fuck, when they were TV champions and they were like they were defending it on a destination television show that you would like tune in so you could see the representative champion on that TV show. And the idea behind this wasn't quite that. It was supposed to more be a high speed, at least in theory. The way it seemed to be presented was like a high speed.
Well, yeah, it was supposed to be young guys, high speed,
sort of thing.
And we want to attract, you know, viewers. We're going to put it up for free on social media and all over the place.
And I think they still do that, but like it doesn't attract anybody. So like that part of it, I think is very much a failed experiment. The idea of like, we're going to put the free TV matches up, but in order for that to work, you have to have alluring matches that people want to see, and then thereby also want to continue to pay beyond just seeing that one free match. And I don't think it all translates that way to, even if you have great matches, like do people that tune in and watch those, do they not already have New Japan? Like, I just don't think it works.
Yeah,
but
I would highly doubt if there's like some fan that's like, yeah, I only watch the free.
I only tune in for the New Japan World matches. That's it. But with that being the case, it's like you have it on established talent, so then it becomes it's not a young guy's title, so then you have to find compelling booking, and in order for that to really kind of translate, you sort of need to have TV. They don't have TV, so it's just sort of like a touring title with a shorter time limit. It's not that different from the Never Bell or the global title, and I'm getting to the point where I'm like, we don't need this belt, just the same way we didn't need KOPW. I loved the idea of what it was when Zach had it and everything and what it kind of represented, but as time has gone on, it's become a superfluous title. Like they don't kind of need it because they don't have TV and they don't know how to book it very like clearly. And I'm not like saying this because I don't think that like, and maybe I'm pissing in Okan's cornflakes here because this is like his first like real title win outside of the
Rev Pro,
no, outside of like KOPW.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess he was Rev Pro champion. And it does kind of suck because it's like, this is a guy that we've been waiting on them to go with for a long time, but it doesn't feel like a definitive win. It feels like a political sort of decision that they made here, sort of like weird. And the title feels less important because they put it on Okan, and that sucks for him that I feel that way, but that is truly how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's kind of like the de facto leader of an empire, so maybe in that situation it will help.
You say that because TJ doesn't have a contract now?
Well, I mean, he was never really the leader at any point.
Oh yeah, he was. Yes, he was. Just like Carl Anderson was the leader of the Bullet Club. He is the leader. He is the captain, bro. You don't remember?
Yeah, the self-proclaimed captain.
Bro, he beat Taichi.
Yeah.
In a gauntlet. In an over-the-top rope elimination gauntlet. He beat him. Don't take that away from my man.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do with the Okan run as a TV champion, because I feel like I like the direction they were going with the whole Phantasma Open Challenge, because again, that kind of made it kind of that destination, like, oh, you never know who Phantasmo is going to defend this title against, show in and show out, and they just didn't really go with that direction. Like, he had, one mystery, and it was Wato, and then they built up TJP and Okan, so it wasn't really a mystery. You kind of knew that one of those two.
Supposed to be the lone wolf.
Bishop Dyer.
It's supposed to be my dog Bishop Dyer, and he didn't come in, and they had a scramble. That's all that shit was.
But I think the Open Challenge gimmick works with a TV title like that, and that could have been a cool thing for Phantasmo. He's a guy that could have good matches with a lot of the guys on that roster, and I feel like they didn't really explore that, and kind of ended abruptly in this kind of like non-finishy kind of finish, non-definitive way. And it's like, all right, are we getting a third, Phantasmo Okan match this year, or are they going to push Phantasmo elsewhere?
And here's the thing with that. There have been times where people have had open challenges and then someone beats them for the title, and then they turn around and try to also do an open challenge. And it never works because it's an inherited gimmick from a person that you just beat. And unless you are angling for the rematch between those two people, there's no reason to kind of continue in story something that was established by the person you beat. And it always comes off like kind of weaker, especially with this type of title. Like, so that's why, like, I don't think that you could turn around and have like Okan be like, I'm going to have open challenges too. Cause then it's like, is this the open challenge belt or is it the TV belt with a 15-minute time limit? Which gimmick do you want to go with this title? And Okan is angling to throw some gimmicks on his 15-minute, bro. KO, he got rid of KOPW, but he wants this shit to be KOPW 2.0.
Yeah, they did share that the eating contest of him and Tangaloa on Twitter. So yeah,
did you see Gabe Kidd's reaction?
Yeah,
to that?
He's like, I never post that ever again.
Amazing.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens for the Okan TV title run here. And they were accompanied by the guy who makes the video game that sponsored the show, and had a nice little moment there for him. So,
you mean Fatal Fury?
Yeah. So kind
you
of
ever played Fatal Fury?
I have not. No.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I played that shit.
I'm familiar with Terry Bogard, the guy that the main character, because he was in Smash Brothers. But
oh really?
Yeah.
So like I played like the SNK arcade games where it was like the mashup where they had all of them like tied. So it's like, I know they had a bunch of different SNK titles. I didn't play all of them, but I played, I don't know what game it was, but is it Fatal Fury or I don't know. I'd have to look it up, but Tournament of Champions. I don't know. I'd have to look it up, but yeah, I know that there's a bunch of SNK fighting games.
And that takes us to the next matchup here. We had the Roughneck Shota Umino defeating Hiroshi Tanahashi in 12 minutes and 47 seconds. So this was a connection match in the final road for Tanahashi.
So this was rough.
From the Roughneck.
Yeah, rough from the Roughneck. And it's like, I don't know. It's weird because I am seeing like the Shota Umino apologists like come out and advocate for the match as though he holds no blame in a potential failure of a match, right? And I don't want to like sit here and just dog pile on Shota because I don't think that that's necessarily the right way to go about it, because we spent a long time talking about the issues that kind of persist with Tanahashi. But it is always kind of a litmus test when you're a young guy and you're put in a big spot with a big star on a big show. And you know how Tanahashi likes to be for these shows, even though he's been active. It's like, he likes to try and turn up and have a good showing. And not to say that this was abysmal, but it wasn't like what you would have envisioned or hoped that Tanahashi versus Shota Umino would have been, considering the interactions that they had with one another backstage leading up to this and kind of like the booking behind it.
Yeah, I feel like it ended up just kind of being just a match. And also, I think part of that is on Tanahashi just being broken down. But yeah, there just wasn't a lot to sink your teeth into here. I mean, for most of the match, Umino's working Tanahashi's leg. He's doing the dragon screws, trying to work over the knee. He's trying to do his more aggressive style as well. And like you mentioned, the whole story, Umino wanted to prove that he should be the true leader of Hontai and be the real ace. And that's kind of what the story of the match was. And Tanahashi trying to use all his kind of final tricks to beat Shota, but eventually Shota hits the second chapter to get the win over Tanahashi.
And at the same time, it was also kind of like worrying, because it's like they teased this animosity that existed and that really didn't come into play the kind of way that you hoped that it would. You know what I mean? Like the payoff. And maybe that is still coming, but it's like, why did you tease it between these two guys in particular if there wasn't even, I don't know, I didn't see the hints that this is going to persist.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much it was just, Umino trying to earn Tanahashi's respect and prove that he's the guy to lead Hontai. Because also, Tanahashi turned over the keys to Goto, and Tanahashi's been putting over Yuya Uemura. And so Umino's feeling very slighted, and that's kind of where the animosity is coming from. But he doesn't really want to hate Tanahashi, at least right now. It just seems like he just wants Tanahashi's respect.
Right, but there's a disconjointed aspect to the storytelling there, right? Because I don't think it's, and maybe other people enjoy it, they think it's nuanced, but I don't think it's nuanced. I think it's kind of like bipolar a little bit, because it's like you have this guy goes through his failure, shaves his head, he's having these failures, then he goes through the tournament and he's got a chip on his shoulder, he's changing his character and the gimmick, yada, 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 and then he fails again. And he didn't give respect to Tanahashi, so it's like you're kind of building something, and then you put him in this big spot with Tanahashi, and nothing comes of it, especially coming off the back of that. Not only did he lose to Finlay, but Finlay like grabbed him, said, you need to do what I do, blah, 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 blah. And he's shaking his head and he's agreeing with him. But then when he's backstage, he doesn't give respect to Tanahashi. So you think like this is building to something. And I didn't think it needed to be the full payoff, but there needed to be something continued to sow into the story that they're telling. And instead, it seems like almost a pivot from what they were previously telling. Because now it's like, I'm just trying to get Tanahashi's respect. I just want to beat Goto because I want to prove that I'm the guy that really should be leading. I'm this generation's guy and everything. And sure, maybe there is going to be a twist and a turn, but like, I think that there needed to be a little bit more groundwork laid here, instead of it's just like, we had a match, it happened, and now it's over, and hopefully I've got his respect. Like, that doesn't work for me, considering the tone that they had set with the other storyline beats.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel like there is like not going to be some kind of twist. Like, it's starting to feel like this is just to try to rehab Umino as babyface, and there's not going to be some kind of unique turn. There's not going to be a new faction. Like, this is just their way of rehabbing him and getting him to where they want him to be as a babyface.
And I guess we had a question about it. I saw in the Discord, and maybe I'm jumping the gun here.
Yeah, we'll get to some questions, and we did have some questions here in the chat as well. RS asking if he's winning the belt on Saturday. I think he means Friday. It says Shota is sort of showing a killer edge, but he hasn't gone fully into it. It says they are Roman Reigns him and not to steal from Frazier.
I didn't know that Frazier said that, but I will say I didn't see that anyone else had said that, but I did see in the chat where someone asked if this was essentially like Cody and AEW, where it's like they're not willing to turn him, but you know, the crowd is turning on him, blah, blah. And I was like, this is kind of closer to Roman Reigns than anything else, where it's like they're not committing to what the story should be and what the audience is asking for. And it's stagnating the entirety of the company and himself because of their refusal to commit one way or the other. Maybe, you know, who knows? Maybe a week from now I'll have egg on my face after they decide to do something major in Chicago. I could be wrong, but to me, no matter what, there should have been something of substance one way or the other when it came to the Tanahashi match. The match itself, I didn't have high expectations for it anyways, but you know, for those people pretending it was good, it was not good. But I think the real failure here, it's not really on Shota Umino or Tanahashi. It's more on the booking, where it's like you don't have good creative to follow up on this very interesting thing that you had going all throughout the tournament. And now we're having to headcanon, especially like the Shota Umino apologists, we're having to headcanon what the meaning and the importance and all of that is when it comes to Windy City Riot. Like, I don't like that.
Yeah, you're kind of forcing the fans, to kind of make their own narrative, own story up, and then kind of be disappointed when it doesn't come play out and come true. And when I see those people, like I see the headcanon going on in the cope a little bit, I don't even want to engage because I'm just frustrated with the story because I'm like, this is a pivotal linchpin in the story. Like you needed to do something here, and they set it up for it, and they just didn't deliver. Yeah, yes. Beats Tanahashi post-match. He grabs the mic saying he plans on being the one to truly lead Hontai. So, and then we'll talk about what's to come with him later on in the evening. They have a question from Discord Daddy. He says, will we get any of the following on Tana's retirement road? A match with Nakamura, Okada, or Kenny?
The only one of those matches that truly is enticing to me is the Nakamura match.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of gotten several final Tanahashi Okada matches. I don't think there really needs to be another one of those. A Kenny match, like I don't know if Tanahashi's body can handle a Kenny match, even if Kenny, wrestles at like 50%. I feel like that would be a huge burden on Tanahashi's body. So I do feel like him and Nakamura can kind of have the old man match and be fine and be a good kind of way to go out. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that like you mentioned, like we've seen him and Okada so many times and had like the big send off. And do I think out of all those guys, who is the most likely to have some sort of meaningful inclusion in Tanahashi's send off? It's probably Okada, even with the bad blood with the companies. Like you have to imagine somehow, some way, on some level, even if it happens in AEW, that there will be something between Okada and Tanahashi. Yeah. Even if it's not a match, like there might be a video, might be a segment, might be a multi-man match. Who knows?
Just comes out and gives them a Rainmaker one last time.
Yeah, it could be anything. And it's like, could him and Kenny like do something together because of the connections with the companies, and even like Kenny working New Japan here and there? Like, sure. But like, I don't know. We kind of closed the door on that story. Like Tanahashi got the win. I don't know that he ever needs to wrestle Kenny again. He beat him. That's it. He beat him. Let's move on. Kenny never gets that win back. Fuck him. But to me, the most interesting thing would be Nakamura, because it's like that is his biggest generational rival, period. Like it would be like Cena retiring and having no interactions with Orton and nothing ever comes from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he might have had better matches with different people, but like his generational rivals like Orton and like for Tanahashi, it's Nakamura. And like, would I love the match? No, but do I think it means something for like to put a bookend on his career? Like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
A lot of products say they're clean, but what does that mean? Ritual has high standards for what clean means, like their essential prenatal multivitamin, which is heavy metal tested, clean label project certified, and GMO free. It features key mom-to-baby nutrients like folate, choline, and omega-3. Clean isn't clean enough, especially during pregnancy. Get 25% off at ritual.com/prenatal. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
So following that, we had the Never Six-Man Tag Team title match. We had House of Torture, Ren Narita, Sho, and Yujiro Takahashi defeating the War Dogs team of Drilla Maloney, Gabe Kidd, and Taiji Ishimori. So big story here. I mean, the War Dogs are pretty much running rampant in this match, had control of the match. I mean, they're throwing triple super kicks out there and seem to kind of be ready to wrap things up with the House of Torture. And then, of course, we had a ref bump, which led to House of Torture shenanigans, but then that brought out Clark Connors and Sonata to try to make the save for their War Dog teammates. And then we get the turn once again from Sonata. He hits Drilla with that non-gimmick guitar. And
bro, I told you that shit was not gimmicked.
Yeah, it did not explode like a Jarrett guitar. And got some color there on Drilla. And then Sho got the pin on Drilla, and just like the first turn, Sonata slowly pulls the jacket down, and he reveals a House of Torture Bullet Club shirt, and is now aligned with the House of Torture.
This is specifically what I was referring to earlier in the show when I was like, New Japan, when they do shit, they don't gimmick it the way like a WWE or even an AEW would. Like if AEW is going to have a chair shot, they're not going to have someone go out there and buy a fucking, used guitar from a pawn shop.
From Japanese Radio Shack.
And like maybe sand it down a little bit before they hit somebody with it. Like they're gonna hire somebody to like put together some like balsam wood, like toothpick so it'll explode. But this shit did not explode. I was fearful that this would happen, and it was exactly what I thought would happen. But yeah, bro, like in 2 years, this dude Sonata has gone from LIJ to Just Five Guys to War Dogs to House of Torture. And not only has he gone that, he went from like upper mid-card guy to like the main eventer of a group to like lower mid-card guy. Now he's Evil's bitch.
Again.
This is one of the biggest like falls from grace that I've ever seen. He probably doesn't care. He's like, bro, I'm just getting the bag. Like I won the title. I had my run. That's it.
Main event of the Dome.
Main event of the Dome. It's time to get paid. Yen is down. I don't know where the fuck else. I tried to go to America. Impact didn't want me. Vince didn't want me. Tony wasn't willing to pay me. They put me in there with Jungle Boy. They definitely didn't see me as a star. Like there's, what am I going to do?
Doc says he's in his freaking era.
Yeah, bro, what's the deal with those boots? I know that like those boots definitely meant something. I saw something online where a lot of people were wearing those big red Mega Man boots.
Rollins wore it a while ago. I don't know what the meaning of it is, but
it was like in the public zeitgeist. It meant something, and I think but I'm too old to know that shit, so I don't know what what it was.
Yeah.
Why is Doc's name RS?
I don't know. That's his part of his shoot name. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, dox him.
It just says RS. That's
Ronald Steinberg.
Ron Swanson. Yeah, he says shoot name. But yeah, so this Sonata stuff is just like I don't get it. Like,
I get it. We've been calling it for years.
Yeah,
Man's
but
mid.
He is mid, but this whole why did he even join the War Dogs in the first place? Like, why did they just wait to turn out torture? I don't get it.
I will never remember. I'll never forget. You were out of town and having the conversation. Like I've said it before on the show, but it's enough time has passed. I can just pull back the curtain. But like having the conversation with Joel Abraham and Damon, where they were like, "Bro, this dude's joining War Dogs," and it was like months and months before, and I was like, "There's no fucking way." I'm like, "You guys." Are you sure people are not fucking working you?
Yeah, because then you told me, I was like, nah, there's no way.
And then Samson got on the call, and I was like, Samson, did you hear this shit? And he's like, oh, yeah, I heard. And I was like, everyone knows before me, but I was like, you guys are like, there's a good chance you guys are getting worked, like, because it doesn't make any fucking sense. And then it did happen, and I was like, fuck you guys. You were right, but like, still, like, it's preposterous and absurd. And I don't know. I just remember how mad people got at me in like 2018 when we were like, Sonata don't got it. And people were like, how could you say this? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, because he's not Kenny Omega and he's not Okada and he's not
Kota
Naito, and he's not Kota Ibushi and
he's not Tomohiro Ishii.
Not Tomohiro. Yeah. It's like there's like 10 dudes in this company that are generational talents. And he's just not on that level. And to have lived through a whole year of him holding that belt, like,
bro, that man went undefeated in his freaking block.
You remember when Triple H cut that promo on JR where he was like, I walked out in the Madison Square Garden to say goodbye to my friends, and who got punished for it? Me. He's like, and you guys thought, oh, Triple H, he'll come back, he'll take it. Good old Triple H. He's like, I get sick to my stomach thinking about that. Bro, that's me when I think about it the entire year. I'm like, yeah, you guys sat there and you said, you know what? We're going to put the title on Sonata and Keepin It Strong Style. They'll keep covering New Japan. They'll come through. It'll be okay. But I get sick in my stomach when I think about the year that I had to spend covering this company. Sonata is champion. Are you kidding me?
Sonata won the belt. I lost my smile. Oh man! So we had a few questions.
Sick to my stomach.
We had a few questions here. Mother says a Bret Hart scale for Yujiro Takahashi.
Oh, take us through it, Jeremy.
So look, 3,
4. Damn.
Mike.
I don't know. He talks about dick and balls sometimes, so that's cool.
I'll go
4,
5,
4. So we're even at this point. You went 3 and 5. I went 4. We got solid 8 on the board right now.
Work.
4.
Yeah, 5. Yeah, 4.
That's a solid 12.
It factor.
4. This man's 4s across the board. 16, we got 16.
16 out of 40.
You know how there was 6?
Oh,
you know,
man.
Sean Waltman was 6. Well, yeah. Yujiro was 16.
If it was Brett would just say 4 out of 10.
Yeah, he's a 4 out of 10. Oh, shit. Isn't that what Triple H is?
Yeah, that's what Brett said about Triple H. Oh, man.
Can't say that shit anymore. That's the only dude that's, willing to give him a big payday on the way out,
Yeah. Les Commission 7252 says, is Sonata the new Ho of New Japan?
Yep.
Or is he the Big Show of New Japan?
Both.
Death Triangle 720, is Sonata's booking since he turned on LJ show that he just couldn't hack it as a consistent main eventer, or Gale just couldn't find a way to make him a believable main eventer long term?
Both.
Yeah, I mean, he got all the opportunities, undefeated in the block, won the belt, main event to the Dome, and yeah, they didn't see it in him to continue in a spot like that. Next from Kevin from DC. He says, I think I finally understand what's going on with Sonata. Following the Never Trios match, I was his biggest defender for several years, but I am finally ready to admit that he's indeed cooked. His arm injury means that he will never reach the level of wrestling he was capable of as Cole Skull and as just a guy. He's doing his new job as a shithousery heel in a stable full of shithousery heels. He played his part as Jake Lee's replacement in World Tag League last year, and now he can get in with wrestlers of a similar ilk. No question here, just an in memoriam for the career of Sonata, April 10th, 2016 to January 4th, 2024. It was nice having you here, Sonata.
I would kind of agree, but at the same time, like, that dude failed everywhere he ever was, even before he got to New Japan. Like, this was not a new sudden thing.
the big
hoe. I mean, this dude failed. The belly shirt says it all. Whoa. I like the belly shirt. All right. I like myself a little. Let's not pretend that this man is not smoking hot still. You know what I mean? And like, of all the sexy Sonata looks that have ever existed, 1980s Dennis Condrey is the best look that Sonata has ever had, period. But this man failed in All Japan. He failed in Impact. He failed in Wrestle One. He was supposed to be the Wrestle One ace. He failed there. He failed everywhere he was before he got to New Japan, and now he's failed there. He's one of the most perpetually failing dudes that has ever been that companies have tried to push in pro resu, like in the past like decade. Yeah,
and you would think, he has the looks, like he's, I mean, at times a decent wrestler, but no charisma, no star quality. And you look at him and he looks like he could be a star, and you push him, and then, like you mentioned, multiple promotions, multiple countries, just flopped.
And here's the funny thing is, like, it's not even a punchline anymore. We're at the point where it's like, I'm done talking about him. Like, this is the shoot, but he's hot. So that's true. It's like I don't know. I've been talking shit about this dude for 8 years now. Like, might be it.
Yeah. So after that matchup, we had the Best of Super Juniors 32 announcement. So this year we'll have El Desperado, Ryosuke Taguchi, Yo, Master Wato, Kushida, Kevin Knight, Ninja Matt, Kosei Fujita, Robbie Eagles, Hiromu Takahashi, Bushi, Francesco Akira, Taiji Ishimori, Clark Connors, Sho, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, Dragon Daya, Mao. We'll have a CMLL rep to be announced, and Nick Wayne from AEW.
Looking forward to Nick Wayne in the tournament. I actually haven't seen that much of Mao, and I don't know much about him, so I can't really say. But I mean, I'm assuming, I think this is his first Super Junior, so that's exciting. I did think that the A block looked quite a bit less.
Well, there's no blocks yet.
I thought that they were listed as A and the B block.
No, they just announced the participants, and we do have a later question that's asking about that. But because they normally do the block announcements like in the build up to the tournament.
I misunderstood the way it came out. I thought like everyone in the first half was the A block, everyone on the second one was the B block, and I was like, man, B block looks way better than A block. But I guess I was mistaken.
Yeah, no blocks have been announced yet, and because the question came from Kevin. He's like, everyone seems to be convinced that for the announcement, wrestlers 1 through 10. We're supposed to be in Group A, and 11 through 20 were Group B. My question is, what in the blue hell
I thought
made that rumor start? Did the comic stylings confuse everyone? If this were the case, Group A would have Wato, Yo, and Gucci, 2 Jet Setters, 2 Ichiban Sleep Boys, while Group B would have 2 War Dogs, 2 House of Torture members, and all the guest spots.
I just thought that's what we were doing. So I was like, B block looks lit. A block sucks. B block rules.
Yeah, but I'm excited for Nick Wayne. He doesn't get a ton of TV time in AEW, and so he's super raw. And I think a tournament like this would be great for his skill set and get better.
I'm excited to see his mom.
Despy did tweets like, yeah, is your mom coming?
And then there's the speculation over who the CMLL luchador is. We don't know yet. There's speculation on whether there will be like a formal announcement or if there will be like a playoff of some sort. I'm hoping it's Neon, personally.
Yeah, Neon, he's super raw. He'd be a fun guy and a guy you could probably beat too. I would love to get Mascara Dorada in this thing. I think he would be really great in this tournament.
I think he's too high profile unless you want to bring him in and give him like the Teton treatment, really, have him go mid and then maybe get a couple up to qualify for like the playoffs or whatever, however the fuck they're going to do it. And that might not be a bad way to go for him. He's certainly an incredible performer and that'd be an awesome thing. I think he's a little too tall though, personally. Like he's got a skinny frame, but he's taller than everybody in the tournament. I don't really think he's a junior.
I mean, Kevin Knight's pretty tall. I mean, and seeing Kevin Knight in there with Will Ospreay Sunday, I'm like, Kevin Knight's not a junior either.
Kevin Knight was a junior, but he put on too much muscle. He shouldn't actually be in this tournament either.
Yeah. Doc says Neon, Brillante, Dorada, could be Magnus.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I think it should be somebody like Neon in particular, someone who doesn't have a title, who's younger, who can get some meaningful wins, but also take a lot of losses and like treat it like a learning experience and probably wow the Japanese crowd. So yeah, I think Brillante is a good example of someone like that too. So.
Yeah. A few questions. Red Bear Hughes says, is there anyone not in BOSJ you'd have liked to see? I hope the Velocities could have got in. They're great in singles as well as tags. At least Nick Wayne gets to do something other than eat pins for a 50-something mid-carder.
Pete Dunne, but he's working Bloodsport. It's not going to work out. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't really think of anybody out there that could have potentially gotten grabbed. I mean, just more CMLL guys.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have time to watch other wrestling. So maybe you guys should tell me. Like, I don't watch other Japanese wrestling. I don't know who the fuck these juniors are. Remember when there was the All-Star Junior Festival?
Yeah.
I didn't know who 90% of those people do.
Doc saying, notice we didn't get Michael Oku.
I'm not a big fan of Michael Oku personally.
Yeah, I don't know if he meets the New Japan standard.
Well, there are certain standards they have. And I mean, bro, you're going to have two black dudes in this tournament? Like, come on. That's the thing. Like, everyone's like, oh, Kevin Knight, they didn't use him. It's like, I wonder why.
Where's ACH at?
Yeah.
Death Triangle 720 says, should Taguchi be taking a spot from another junior who could have benefited from the spot?
No. Unless they're doing this is Taguchi's final run in the Super Juniors. Unless they're doing that story, no, I don't think he should be in it at all.
Yeah.
We're done with Taguchi.
Yeah, I'm sure you could have found somebody else to go in there. Also has thoughts on the lineup. Can't lie, I didn't feel much hearing almost the same people in the tournament except two new people.
We're done with Hiromu. Yeah, I don't know. Jushin Thunder Liger's not walking through that door. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what people are expecting. I mean, you have majority of the current roster and then some outsiders. Like, this is kind of like a normal lineup. I don't know who else people wanted in this thing.
Rey Mysterio. In like a perfect world, Rey Mysterio gets to work Super Juniors just one time and win it all and hold the title.
Freaking Dominic ruined it. We could have been had Mysterio in New Japan long term with Dominic.
That's not the only thing Dominic be ruining. Hey.
Doc says Jacob Austin Young. I don't know, like,
boo.
He's a jag. Like,
boo this man.
I don't think, like, he would be perfectly fine, and maybe he's a guy you want to have as a pin eater, but like, based on what we've seen so far, like, I don't expect him to go out there and have some kind of spectacular tournament.
Danielson. He's a junior.
Darby.
Nah, not Darby. Danielson.
We can get him off the mountain.
Is he? Yeah, he's climbing the mountain, right?
In a couple weeks, yeah.
Bro. So I went out to lunch with my dad the other day.
Oh, boy.
And my dad was like, so you watching AEW? And I was like, no. He's like, what do you think? You think Swerve is gonna beat Jon Moxley? And I was like, I didn't even know you were watching AEW. I thought you only watched WWE. He's like, I watch everything. I watch it all. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't think he's beating him. I think that they were supposed to go with Darby next, unless something changed. He's like, Darby? The little guy? He's like, I mean, he's tough. He could fall off shit, but he's not going to beat Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley's the best wrestler in the world right now. Are you kidding me? He's like, Swerve makes sense because Swerve is tough and he can win matches and he's cool. But, you know, Darby, he's little, bro. Like,
man, your dad's smartened up, man.
I guess so, yeah. But then, like, but the funny shit was like, he was like, yeah, so Edge, he's still going. It's crazy, right? And I was like, well, yeah, you know, I think that they're gonna do him and Christian again. He's like, how do you figure that? And I was like, and like my dad doesn't put things together. He watches the show and enjoys it as it is, and he's not forecasting. And I was like, well, if you notice, he's teaming with FTR suddenly on screen, and they're having some sort of issues, right? He's like, yeah. And I was like, and Christian is having issues with his family, and he's not like with them anymore. Have you noticed that? And he's, yeah, but I don't know what those two things have to do with one another. And I was like, well, they're done with Edge. There's nothing else that they could do with him at the top. Like, they're clearly going to do a nostalgia run with him, Edge and Christian. He's like, that doesn't make any sense. How are they going to team together? They had a blood feud just a few. He's like, he hit him in the balls with a spike. He's like, you think he's just going to forgive him from hitting him in the balls with a spike?
Bro, we should bring your dad on for a podcast.
No, because my dad's like MAGA, bro. He'll say, and I'm not at all, but my dad is fucking crazy and just says super offensive shit that, like, bro, yeah, like we're at a Japanese restaurant, we're getting sushi, and my dad's like, so did I tell you the story about the reason why your grandfather hated Japanese people? And I was like, no, and we're in a Japanese restaurant. You shouldn't tell us that right now at all. And he's like, no, we're not. And I was like, we are literally you are eating sushi. We're literally at a Japanese restaurant. He's like, this is an Asian restaurant. It's not the same thing. And I was like,
boy.
He's like, I don't see why people got to get so upset about this stuff. It's just a story. It happened during World War II. And I was like, bro, what? Just have some tact. And my dad talks loud, bro. And he says offensive stuff, and he asks Siri stuff. Like, so he'll say stuff that's offensive to me, and then I'll be like, yo, what you're saying is completely out of line and wrong. And then he'll be like, Siri, did Donald Trump in a packed restaurant with like a lot of people around?
Oh, man.
Like, we go out to dinner and my wife is like, bro, like my heart rate is like literally at like 120 because your dad stresses me out so much. So no, we're not going to have him on podcast.
Doxa Commander could have been perfect for Super Juniors. Mishadium asked, would Lee Moriarty be considered a junior? I think so, but honestly, I'm not super high on Moriarty.
We're hit the quota.
We got Kevin Knight.
I don't know why you guys keep trying to push this agenda on us.
Doctors Adam Cole can be in there with how small he is.
He'd get over in Japan. He's got a body like Giant Baba, so it makes sense. Although that would probably work better in all Japan than it would in the cerulean blue. But yes, you're right. That man is a bro. 5 years ago, you and I were in New York, watching a main event between him and Gargano. WWE was really pushing these juniors on us. You know what I'm saying?
And it was incredible.
This man, James Boyd, shed tears.
He did, yeah.
In the Barclay Center.
Oh, man. Remember when Johnny Gargano was the best wrestler in WWE?
Bro, there was a time where I was like, bro, the best match you can make in the world today is like Johnny Gargano and Will Ospreay.
Not no more.
No.
Oh, man. Let's jump to the Never Openweight title match. We had Konosuke Takeshita defeating The Grip, Roy Oiwa, in 12 minutes and 54 seconds.
So I thought this was very good. Maybe not quite great, but very fun. I feel like it continued the trend of Konosuke Takeshita going out there with young guys and giving them really compelling, fun, and exciting matches. It didn't need to necessarily, like, I know that people are expecting, because it's Takeshita and everything like that, like, and it's these young guys, that they're going to go out there and they're going to tear the house down to the level of like a match of the year contender or steal the show. But they are still in the never slot, and they are still getting like 12 minutes. So there is sort of an expectation of what they're aimed to do with that time frame.
Yeah, it's also the sixth match on the main card.
Exactly. So I know there's a lot of people that are upset. They feel like at this point, with how many times Oiwa has, challenged for titles and then lost, that it's like this big failure. I feel like some of that is, I don't know, like favors. I don't know what the word is, but like bias.
It's the special guy. Like,
it's the special guy thing.
Yeah, Oiwa is a lot of people's special little guy, and they want him to win all the belts and be the ace, and walk out like Ultimo Dragon, Mercedes Moné with all the belts. Like, Oiwa's good, but he's not that level to where he needs to be winning every single title match he has.
we watched Gabe Kidd have so many meaningful matches for a long time and just never win. He's going out there like fighting all the best guys, not only in this company, but outside the company in major matches, and failing, and challenging for titles and failing. And he's okay. And I'm not saying that should always be the case, but like, I don't know. Like, I was fine with it. The only thing I do wonder is like with Takeshita and his situation, like how long are we keeping this belt on him? Because I am sort of ready for them to maybe move him up, but I don't know if they have the leeway to do that because of his contract status, because it is hard to commit to a guy as like, I know there's those comments from Kadani and everything early in the year, but like he's got commitments in DDT, he's got commitments in North America with AEW. It would be hard to envision him as being someone that they really went full bore with. And maybe like this is the ceiling for now, is like a never style reign, because they can't invest in him to be the top of the card.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me in a way of Kota Ibushi, where it's like, we want to push this guy, but he's not going to sign, so we're going to stick him in the never division. And then he signed.
They were never able to go with him until he signed.
Right. And they signed and they pushed him. And like, Takeshita is quote unquote signed, but like, yeah, he's, he has 3 contracts. So they're probably like, yeah, we want to push this guy, but yeah, he has AEW dates, he has CDT dates. Like, we can't go with him. So yeah, we'll stick him in the never division.
Well, Ibushi was signed too. That's the thing people forget. Ibushi was signed initially to it was a 1-year contract, and it was a dual contract with DDT and New Japan. So very similar in certain respects, where it's like he had split commitments and he was in both companies. And yeah, they like put the junior title on him, and they gave him the match with with Nakamura, and they gave him a New Japan Cup win, but like they couldn't make him a true blue main eventer. Yeah.
And so I feel like it's a similar situation with Takeshita. It's like, I'm sure they would want to strap him up and push him to the moon and take advantage of his popularity, his aura, and his in-ring ability, but you just can't do that. You never know when he's going to have another date that conflicts with New Japan date.
I got to reach out to my dog Fraser, because I am so nervous with what's going on with the global markets, and I'm looking at what's happening with the yen and with the fact that, like, yes, the whole thing with Naito, my understanding is that was a quote unquote like April Fool's thing, but I also understand from the scuttlebutt is like there is some truth to it. My understanding is he's not signed to a contract. And apparently a lot of people in New Japan are not signed to contracts right now. That's why you're seeing like TJP just left and Kevin Knight just left and everything like that. And I'm wondering, like, dude, if the global economy keeps fucking up, and we just saw like the 2 different markets in Japan crash today, like, I don't know, bro. Is Donald Trump going to fuck up New Japan Pro Wrestling for me? Is that what's about to, is a global trade war with tariffs going to fuck up signing some of the best talent in the world for New Japan? Is that like my takeaway from this whole thing? That's going to suck.
Yeah, it's going to be awful.
Am I going to be able to afford to go to Japan?
Who knows if they'll even let you leave the country?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, they might, bro. They might round me out, bro. I'm gonna keep my hair as white as possible. I told these guys in a group chat, I was like, what did I say? I said I was white when it's, I'm only white when I want to be, when it's convenient.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not growing out any facial hair. I'm gonna be clean shaven as fuck. I'm gonna wear a polo, some khakis. It's gonna be sick. I'm not going to Venezuela. Or where is it? El Salvador? I can't remember where they're sending everybody.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
ICE people.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah. Death Triangle 720 asks, do you think New Japan just has to catch the hold every title for a year? I can see him do that and hope by next year he stays full time.
I don't know. I kind of already gave my thoughts on that whole situation, honestly.
Yeah, and something I forgot to mention too, he's already the longest reigning, most defensed never champion in history, going to V5.
Oh my God, I didn't notice that. He's V5?
Yeah.
That's, bro, we got to change the Carl Gotch Award is no longer the Carl Gotch Award. It is the Konosuke
/ Carl Gotch
V5 strong style fight of, award.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's like we were talking about. I don't know. I think it all depends on what his stats goes forward. Like if he's going to stay with 3 companies, I don't know how hard they could actually push him. And then he also asked, do you think Oiwa's return so far has been what you expected?
I definitely think that there could hypothetically be some more like growth, much in the same way that we kind of opined for that with Uemura when he first came in, and it was like there's a great set of bones there, but there's something that's lacking and they need to kind of build. I would say he's a little bit more established and a little bit more figured out in terms of who he is than Uemura was, but he's clearly not Yota Tsuji when Yota Tsuji came in and it was like, boom, right out the gate.
Superstar.
It's not that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want him to feel like that. But yeah, I do think, you mentioned a step ahead of Uemura. But yeah, I think there's definitely a room to grow and kind of establish exactly who the grip is and kind of what his role in TMDK is.
I don't want to know what the fuck the grip is.
Karen from DC says, is Takeshita still the best wrestler in the world?
No, I don't think so.
Who you got?
Right now?
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I don't watch enough wrestling, but like I've said this before, and like I said it to Rich and he thought I was a little bit crazy, but like I feel like Takeshita is a little inconsistent. I'm not saying that he doesn't. Well, I'm sorry. Who's the best wrestler in the world? It's Will Ospreay. Like, yeah, pretty clearly. Like right now, there was like a few years ago, it was really hard because it was like, is it Kenny? Is it Will? Is it Danielson? Is it Okada? And you kind of had like, is it Shingo? Is it Zach? Blah, blah, blah. There was like but like right now, I think I think Will Ospreay is leaps and bounds better than everybody. And the only other person I could maybe point, I don't know. I do think that like Swerve and Hangman are not that far off.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Kenny's like been on fire since coming back from diverticulitis.
Yeah, but it's like Kenny's also hasn't had the full opportunity to show out the way he can just yet. You know what I mean?
I don't know, bro. That watch that 3-way from Sunday.
I'm not gonna watch a 3-way.
It was great.
I might watch it. But it's got Speedball, so and it's got Ricochet. I don't know. I don't want to watch it. No, I might watch it, but yeah, I mean, Kenny's up there, but to me, like consistent night in and night out, like who's the best guy? It's Will.
Yeah,
and I don't think Takeshita, as great as he is and as consistently great, there are times where I think he should be having better matches. They don't always land for me, and I don't think he's as consistently great as like say Will Ospreay.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I think back to like, the Will Hobbs match we watched in Orlando and some other bigger spots with guys that are a little bit less experienced where Takeshi doesn't necessarily have the blowaway match, or sometimes he kind of likes to do like this, the body part story match kind of thing.
The match in Mexico.
Yeah. Against was it Angel de Oro? So yeah, I would go Ospreay, definitely number one. Moving on to the tag team title match, we had Callum Newman and Jeff Cobb defeat Hiromu and Naito to become the new IWGP Tag Team Champions. Jeff Cobb, supposedly on the internal roster for WWE, is now Tag Team Champion.
They've turned me into Ricky circa 2019.
Oh, speaking of Ricky, sounds like there's going to be a one-time Ricky and Clive return, I think, coming next week. Yes.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What why didn't anyone reach out to me? Am I on it?
No, it's going to be Ricky, Clive, and I think Rants is going to... I
knew they were going to have fucking Rants on there. This is bullshit. Don't even air this. Just put this shit on Chair Shot. That's crazy. That's cool. I love those guys. But yeah, you remember when Jon Moxley was supposed to leave WWE and Ricky was like, I don't remember what the whole thing was, but Ricky was like,
it's a work. The whole time, like,
it's a work.
It's a work. He's like, he's not
leaving. It's a work. This is just a work. That it just continued. It went on and on. And
it was like months. It was like the whole like Moxley retirement tour. He's like, it's a work, bro. It's a work. Dean ain't leaving.
Dean Ambrose is not leaving. And then he showed up in AEW and he was like, it's a work, bro. He's like, I'm not going to believe it till he has a contract.
Well, didn't he show up for like New Japan first?
Yeah, I think he showed up and he's like, bro, that's a work. That's not real. That's me right now with Jeff Cobb. I'm like, he's leaving, bro. This is... Oh, you put the title on him? Okay. Like, oh, you had him beat Naito twice? All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, in theory, it's a cool move, I guess, because... they're trying to do something for the United Empire. They gave him a couple big wins on the night. I do think Callum Newman and Jeff Cobb are, if we're just going just based off pure, like, who do I enjoy? They are light years beyond Naito and Hiromu, where, like, I'm at the point where I'm like, I think Naito and Hiromu are, like, cooked.
Yeah, I would say Hiromu's not as bad as Naito. But, yeah, both of them are very far away from their peaks.
I can't even remember the last time I really liked a Hiromu match.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So with that being the case, I was at the same time though, kind of shocked at the title change. Cause I'm like, we're sort of hot potatoing the junior or the tag team titles around. And it felt like the thinking behind this was like Hiromu and Naito could be used as a attraction to kind of bolster the shows and draw eyes to the shows. And maybe them being on shows does that anyway. So maybe you don't need to have the titles on them, but it felt like that was kind of a prestige thing and gave them something to do while Naito probably potentially winds down. But yeah, they just had him lose. And I was like, that's kind of surprising.
Yeah, it's a little anticlimactic. I mean, I know they've kind of been telling this story with Newman and Naito, and Newman's been trying to beat Naito in singles, hasn't been able to, and so that was a big part of the story. But I don't feel like it was built up enough to kind of make us a big title change. But I mean, still a big kind of upset. Newman was able to hit the firebomb towards the end on Naito and pin Naito, so. Wasn't a singles match, but he did finally get that pinfall victory over Naito to get the titles. And so
this is like in 85 when Fujinami finally pinned Inoki, but it was only in a tag match. That's it. You're never beating this guy in a singles match after this. This is your one shining moment, period.
Yeah. So new tag team champs here with Cobb and Newman. Post-match, Cobb went over to commentary and he said, I thought I was leaving. What happened, internet?
So this man's leaving. This man is leaving. Someone get Ricky on the phone right now.
And shout out to MJ, who was on last week. He did accurately predict that Cobb and Newman were going to win. And speaking of MJ, he did ask, Sakura Genesis was a big night for United Empire. My question is, why?
I don't know. Maybe they sell merch? Or maybe he is hinting at the potential possibility that if you were conspiratorial, maybe they're gearing up for a new leader sort of situation. Like, it's very, very clear to me right now, there's nobody in that group that fits like, this is the spokesperson. This is like the guy we want to push. Even if there's great talent and fan favorites,
there's no world title.
The time. Yeah, there's nobody like that.
Yeah. Similar question from Beautiful Belt 4560. What's up with UE? Every time I think it's time to pack the group up, they come through like this, walking out with big preview match wins and then some gold. Do you think the group is here to stay? And what's with Cobb's commentary jabs?
Well, he's just trolling. So either way, I mean, he looks great either way, because if he's just, talking shit and then he leaves, it's hilarious. But if he's actually worked everybody, then it's even better. But, I don't know. Why isn't there how there's the AEW, Jeff Cobb is all elite? Yeah. It should be like the Jeff Cobb is Shinihan graphic. Like, why haven't we got that graphic up? Until then, it's a work.
Yeah, I mean, United Empire, I mean, they are, a relatively young faction. And I know we talked about a couple of weeks ago how it's pretty much Will's faction, but maybe the faction still sells merch. I mean, I know we were a little bit down on Okan earlier, but he does have a connection with the Japanese crowd and does seem to sell out merch and kind of get over in that way. So, yeah, maybe the group is doing really well merch-wise and getting over. And, there's rumors about TJP and what's going on with him. And so maybe they're just trying to restructure the group. And, maybe there will be some guy that comes in that actually becomes a leader and becomes that main event guy that could credibly challenge for the world title. I also had a question here from Def Triangle 720. With Callum and Cobb now the tag champs, do you think if Cobb is staying longer, it could help Callum in the tag division as a whole? I mean, obviously having Cobb as long as he's around is going to help out, and I think him and Callum make a great team, and obviously Callum can learn a lot from Cobb. Cobb's a very experienced wrestler, so and it's always good to have a fresh team in the division. We talked about earlier, there's not a lot of just standard tag teams in New Japan. And so a lot of times people get thrown together, and obviously here Cobb and Newman being thrown together, and I think it works, and it's a fresh team to have in the division. Barry Walsh says, where does Night Show actually go from here apart from the Noodle Shop Kitchen? Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do next with Naito. He's going to be in Chicago on Friday in a undercard tag match, but yeah, I don't know. Do you set him up to potentially challenge somebody? I mean, do you do like him versus Takeshita for never title? Do you do LIJ versus LIJ, have him challenge Tsuji for the global title? If Goto retains, do you do him versus Goto? I feel like he would probably go into some kind of title picture next.
I thought this man was a world champion about a year ago, right?
Naito?
Yeah. Wasn't he how the mighty have fallen? This man went from the main event to an undercard tag match.
Seems to be a pattern, LIJ pattern.
You love to see it.
Trish is going to be so mad. Kevin from DC says, wasn't Cobb supposed to be leaving? That is all I have to ask here.
It's a work, bro.
All right, semi-main event, IWGP Global Heavyweight Title match. The Gene Blast Yota Tsuji defeats Evil 21 minutes and 24 seconds. So, like we mentioned earlier, Evil abandoned the whole King of Sports and not fighting dirty. And Tsuji had to retaliate here. He brought back his twin brother, Shota Tsuji, for the entrance there. And so Evil and Dick Togo attacked what they thought was Yota in the entrance, but it ended up being Shota Tsuji. So that was kind of the beginning part of the match. And then throughout the match, you had Evil working on the injured knee of Yota that was set up from Kanemaru. And then you had all the shenanigans, and you had LIJ, or you had House of Torture trying to cheat to beat Tsuji, and you had the mistimed powder, mistimed whiskey to the face, and Tsuji was able to overcome with the help of Shingo, allow the antics, and retain the global title.
Yeah, this fucking sucked. It did.
Yeah. It was way too long.
We made some allowances for them to have done a much abbreviated version of this match in front of a Cork and Hall crowd back in March during the New Japan Cup. And that was with the understanding that it would establish a bigger match and everything like that. And that crowd was pretty hot for the angle. I mean, the match was essentially just an angle. And, we're kind of like, okay, we get it. It is what it is, blah, blah, blah. And we were like, we kind of enjoy this for what it is, but we were of the understanding and opinion that like by the time the real match came, that they might actually have somewhat of a real match. And, maybe it's my fault for even kind of quasi believing in Evil, but this was just bullshit laden to the point where it was like, this sucks. Not only was the amount of cheating and smoke and mirrors just egregious, but the actual wrestling itself was so slow and plodding and torturous that it was just like, this is not what I want to be. This is definitely not what I want to see out of Yota Tsuji in the follow-up to the classic match that he had in February with Gabe Kidd. It's like we're putting this man on ice to appease Yota Tsuji, which like, I get it. They sell merch, but this fucking sucks. And like, it's not for me. I don't have much like critical analysis here or like positive words to say about it. I understand there's people that like the guy and everything like that. Maybe they are bought into the storytelling aspects where it's like, this was a test and Yota Tsuji had to get over it. But like, you know what? Give me procure the stars. Give me the good fucking matches. I don't need to see Evil, just like I don't need to see Naito in situations like this anymore because he can't do it. I don't need to see Sonata in situations like this because he can't do it. I don't need to see Evil in situations like this because he can't do it. We're getting to the point where we are done with LIJ. Let's get that fucking shit out of here. Mark my words right here. LIJ is cooked. We're about done with that group.
Yeah.
People want United Empire to go away.
This match did no favors for Tsuji. I think Tsuji is obviously, he's a very dynamic wrestler, has a great move set, very fast for his size, and he had to sell the knee the whole match because of what they did with on the road to show of Kanemaru. It's like, this guy doesn't need to be selling the knee for 20 minutes, and then you have all the shenanigans and Dick Togo and the garrote wires, the twin brother, the smoke, the powder, the whiskey. Like, it's like, who is this for?
This gimmick's been going on for like almost 5 years. We're done with it. It's too long. It is one of the things that like maybe the numbers disagree with me, but like from a Western perspective, I think that this is detrimental to the general fan base over here. Like, because it's like, it's so prominent, and when it hits, but it hits so few, and most of the time it just sucks. And like, as it continues, bring back Suzuki-gun. I agree. I love Suzuki-gun, and I think that they did a version of this much better. Although there were some times where Suzuki-gun, there were some times they had to go away on like a 1.5 year long excursion for almost 2 years. They had to go away for 2 years for a reason. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe we get rid of House of Torture, but then maybe we decide 2 years down the road,
you know what? Y'all can stay over where you're at.
We're good. You seem to be doing really good in Big Japan. Like, we don't.
You're popping houses for all Japan. You're doing real good over there.
I don't know. Like, Evil seems to have hit his stride in these shoot style matches in Glate. Like, maybe that is what needs to continue to happen. Like, I just don't think that we have space for you here. But Yeah, I'm done with this shit. I can't stand House of Torture, and like I've tried to expand my horizons and be a little bit more accepting, but you know, when it's on the undercard, when it's a comedy thing, it's fine. I kind of stomach it, grit my teeth. But when we're at this point, like doing this with Tsuji and it's in the semi-main event of a major show, like there's no excuse. It just fucking sucks, and it's arduous and it's painstaking to have to continue to watch that.
Yeah. Ken from DC says, all we need from any future Tsuji twin magic is for him to point to his imaginary tattoos. Nair's growing like the Bellas used to do. It would clearly clear up any confusion if his brother Shota ever gained 50 pounds of upper body muscle. My question here is, what was your favorite memory of the Bellas doing twin magic in WWE?
I don't know. I don't watch that shit.
I can't say that I have a favorite twin magic moment.
I liked my favorite moment that involved any Bellas was when Stephanie wrestled Brie Bella at SummerSlam. I don't know why, but I really enjoy that match. That shit hit.
I mean, I was all about it, Nikki Bella. I'll leave it at that. Let's go to the main event for the IWGP World Heavyweight.
There's something I could have said, but I'm not going to say it.
IWGP World Heavyweight title. The Goto Revolution rolls on. Hirooki Goto defeats the Rebel David Finlay in 24 minutes and 21 seconds. A lot of people, including us, were predicting Finlay winning the title here, ending the Cinderella run. Goto having his kids right there in the front row, and you know, GTW get through, withstand. Goto another successful run here and escapes with the title.
Yeah, I do wonder. I think the one caveat that we've had going into this match, you've mentioned it quite a few times, is like the stuff with Evil and David Finlay. And how are they going to, and I brought this up too, is like, how are they going to pivot from these two guys feuding with each other, but they're both challenging for the top two titles and either one of them coming out victorious in their match? At the same time, I was still trying to think that they would find a way to kind of work themselves out of that predicament. But just on its face, you kind of had to imagine, like, if they're going to continue to feud, both of them kind of needed to lose realistically, unless you wanted to put that on ice and then get back to it in the future, which is certainly not the case. It is also interesting that they had nothing to do with one another's losses in any way, shape, or form. I thought the show overall, personally, I thought Sakura Genesis was a far cry from the high level of quality that New Japan has been known for throughout all of Q1, you know, even going back into Q4 of last year. But the two top matches that really delivered would be the Takeshita match, and then it would be this main event, which I thought was easily the match of the night. It delivered for a lot of reasons. The crowd so invested in both Goto and David Finlay, and then you kind of can, I don't know, I'm not going to relitigate the whole history of Goto and David Finlay. I think most people that are listening probably know all that, and that's what made the match special. But I really was counting on David Finlay to win here, and as the match went on, and it kind of became clear, like, Goto might be winning this shit. And then when he hit him with the GTR and he didn't pin him, I'm like, oh, he's going to, like, hit him with more. Like, because I thought he hit him with the first one. I was like, oh, he's going to pin him, and David Finlay's going to kick out. We're about to make David Finlay a fucking star here. We're doing multiple kickouts. Then he was like, nah, GTR. And then he was like, GTR.
Bro, no. I was like, watching him, I was like, he's winning.
I was like, he's winning.
Goto's winning.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, Goto's winning. And then he hit him with the third one, and I was like, oh shit. He's like, unless someone pulls this ref out of the ring right now, like, and there's no reason anyone would, like, he's winning. Like, I was waiting for the Yoshihashi heel turn. Something you never expected.
Yeah, well, I thought he was gonna get too cocky, like one GTR, two GTR, and then the third one, like, Finlay would have, like, turned it into, like, the cross strike or whatever and win. But
that would have sucked, because that would just be him no selling the shit out of out of the moves. He would have had to have like slow rolled it and like had a lot of time between the execution of each move. That wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
What's much better is 1, 2. Oh my God, Yoshihashi pulled out red shoes.
Yoshihashi's throwing up with too sweet.
No, I'm just playing. I don't want to see that. But I was kind of shocked, and I was like, oh my God, they went with fucking Goto. And then I wondered, like, was this always planned? Or is this reactionary? I know I've mentioned on the show that typically, historically, like New Japan's not like a reactionary booker, but then I'm like, is this Donald Trump's fault? Did they see the fucking tariffs and they knew the yen was coming down and they seen the business that Goto's doing and they're like, basically like Geto had to come to David Finlay like, sorry, baby, it's not for you.
I know we promised you this 2 years in a row, but first time you got sick. That wasn't my fault. This time, we gotta make money moves.
The global market's down. Like we gotta go with a trusted source. You know what I'm saying? I will say this though. I'm happy for Goto. They got the confetti. And then we'll talk about what happened after it. But I truly, and I do mean this, and it's not just because, my record as someone that predicted things is wrong or whatever, I don't care about that. I don't think the direction of the company makes, for some of the same reasons that I said about the junior match when it came to Despy and Clark Connors. I don't think that the creative direction of things makes a lot of sense with Goto retaining, because and we'll talk about what came next, but like the direction they're going is very convoluted. And a lot of these issues would have been remedied by just putting the title on David Finlay, which I felt like it was the right time.
Yeah, I felt like it was the right time to allow momentum behind him, a lot of story element things that you could have done with Finlay, and you would have succeeded in elevating Goto to a guy that could be a credible threat. But yeah, they went with Goto winning, and yeah, I thought it was a great match, and another great table spot here where Goto does the Ushigoroshi off the apron to Finlay through the tables. One table just kind of bends, the other one breaks. It's a great spot there, and yeah, he busted out all the big stuff, Shouting Kai, GTW, that top rope sunset flip bomb he does, and Finlay was doing all his bully stuff, the power bombs, the big lariats, and trying to outpower Goto, taunting the kids throughout the match was funny too. So yeah, great hard hitting match. 3 GTRs, like we mentioned. Goto retains, and post match he gets on the mic and says that he is naming his next challenger. Calls out Umino Shota to come out, and he's challenged him to Windy City Riot. Wants Shota to be his next title defense.
Yeah, and the crowd booed.
As expected.
when he made that. Well, I don't know if it was expected. You know what I mean? Like
same building he got booed in last year.
I know, but they like have been trying to rehab this guy's character and everything. And it doesn't make a lot. I mean, okay, it is the traditional New Japan booking where you take the runner-up of the New Japan Cup and you give him the next title shot. Usually it's at Dantaku, but in this case, they're doing it in America, which maybe they're banking on the idea that they can carry over the like Death Rider, Mox, Shooter, Goodwill, the stuff with, last year in Windy City Riot with Jack Perry and everything. Like maybe some of that stuff is going to carry over and there's going to be more investment into Shota Umino. I think that and this is something I think New Japan does often. I think they're miscalculating. I think they like grab onto an idea of what they think the Western fan base is going to react as, or what they'll like or whatever. And it's generally, I think oftentimes wrong. And I think this is an example of that. But I don't think the story makes sense. I mean, he lost the cup. Yeah, he had some big wins, but really what did he do to rehab himself since then? Is like he beat Tanahashi. It's not, to me, like the greatest. Oh, and we did skip over? I'm sorry. We skipped over the fact that Yuya Uemura is challenging Tsuji.
That's right. Yeah, or not? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he came out after the global title match and challenge. It was he kind of did a Matt Hardy because he was like calling him out. And he was there and he was like turned around. I knew you'd come.
Yeah, we kind of glossed over the whole fucking thing. I feel bad now because it's like that probably does deserve discussion, but it's too late. We've moved on. But I don't know, man. Like, if the story, I think some people are still waiting on this turn when it comes to Shota Umino. And, there is the news that like Young Blood has wrapped up with WXW. You kind of have to wonder if like that's what we're getting ready to gear up for in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, I don't know. It seems like a weird time and place to do something like that. Is a title change between two Japanese wrestlers in America. I know we've complained about New Japan not giving us New Japan shows in America, and that is a pretty New Japan main event, but this guy just shit the bed in the Tokyo Dome. He failed. He lost the New Japan Cup, and then he's turning around and getting a title shot against Goto in America. Seems like weird timing, and I don't know what the positive one way or the other is, because it's like if you have Goto retain, yeah, that's great for, the Goto Revolution story, but what's left? Unless they have some sort of compelling story that I don't see anything brewing in the background that I can count on right now. Unless you can think of something, Jeremy, that I see on the horizon.
The only thing I'm thinking about is a potential Goto-Zach rematch. You have Zach beat Finlay in Chicago, Goto beats Umino, and then you set up Goto versus Zach at Dontaku.
And even that seems like a standby match. Like, that doesn't seem like a match where, again, you're kind of in a weird, perplexed booking situation, because if you do that, it's like Zach wins, then we're back at square one, and maybe that's great for Zach and his fans, but I don't know if that's what the company needs right now. And if he loses, it's like, why? You know what I mean? Like, it's sort of like, why did we take the title off him? Why didn't we take the title off? Like, we shouldn't be there. I don't think it's the most compelling direction. But if Umino wins, it's like, this guy, like, we're really going with this guy after, the failures and everything.
Then do we do Umino Zach again?
I mean, that is the one thing. There is fresh direction if Umino wins, but I don't know that I feel like it's the right time or place, or I'm just not bought into him at all. Like, I think I would bury him, especially if he wins it in an uninspiring way. That might be a legendary rant from me. worse than the evil shit in 2020 or whatever the fuck that was. Like, I was excited about that show. We're going to be there live, but now I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, do I want to be in the building when Shota Umino beats Goto for the title?
Yeah, I don't think him winning is the right call. I think him being a title match is really weird. Again, another opportunity. I mean, do both guys have the skills to have a great main event? Yeah, but will they? We'll have to wait and see come Friday. But I mean, I feel like it's weird because, like, I feel like Umino should be winning his next big match, but I don't feel like he should be winning the title. And Goto, it's like, at what point do we kind of transition in from the nostalgia stuff to the future of the company? It's like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think this is the wrong person. Miss J Doom, hey, I'll be in Chicago for the show too. You know what, Jeremy? I thought about this a lot, and I should probably like put this out there. So when are you getting in on for Chicago?
So my flight lands at like 11 o'clock, I think.
I think I'm going to try to get on an earlier flight. I can't guarantee it's going to happen, but I think I'm going to try and do one of those. Do you know the standby gimmick?
Yeah.
Try that shit. If I can get in earlier, where did we do the drinking thing last year?
The VU rooftop bar.
maybe we just like tell everybody to go to the rooftop bar like an hour or two before the show. Maybe if I can get out there, maybe we just sound the alarm and be like, yo, everybody head out there. And we could do another meetup, like an impromptu, like quick, whatever. Cause I mean, that place was dead and like we livened it up and, it was pretty sick.
Yeah, it was fun. So yeah, we could do that, or even after the show, we could do something. So.
Or after this, I'm flying out like early, so I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I don't know. I have very mixed. I just feel like David Finlay, with all of the momentum behind him, it just made sense from a book. Like it's the right time. Let me throw it to you this way, and I'll leave it at this. When Naito seemed to be at his hottest, and he didn't win the title at the Tokyo Dome, and instead Okada retained. And I called that one, and people were super upset. And I said that there was reasons, like booking reasons, why it made sense financially for New Japan to continue with Okada and go with that story. I could see the projections there, and it made sense, like why Okada retaining that title as opposed to Naito getting his crowning achievement made sense. For this, I don't see that. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you had the perfect opportunity to capitalize on the push, the build, the investment, all these years, everything you built into this guy, and he's crescendoing right now. And instead you're going to stay with Goto. And you got one of two ways. You can either go back to Shota Umino, who's failed multiple times, and he's shown that he's not dependable and reliable as the top guy, and maybe that's the gamble. Or you stick with Goto, who is doing good business, but is it, immediacy where like it feels good for now, but I don't think there's long legs to the Goto run the same way that like an Okada doing the like V12 story had. Like it just, I don't see the upside here.
I think at some point you run the risk of it being too much nostalgia, and you run the risk of becoming Pro Wrestling Noah, where you just have a bunch of old guys on top with the belt and the younger guys are not getting over. Like, I think at some point we need to find a young guy that can beat Goto, and we kind of get back to pushing the younger guys.
Well, I'm okay if the story is him continuing, right? Like that was okay. They did that. That was okay. It's that Umino is the next guy, because now you've booked yourself into a really weird conundrum where it's like Umino can't afford to take another loss, but the company, I don't think, can afford for him to win.
Yeah. Well, unless the loss is what he snaps, because he wants to be the leader of Hontai. So he has a chance now to beat Goto, win the belt and become the leader. And then maybe he loses and that's what snaps. And then, Youngblood comes back or whatever, and he does his whole and creates his own thing.
I guess, but then I'm wondering, like, okay, then what is the long-term creative direction for Goto beyond this? Like, do I see anything on the horizon? And I know you mentioned Zach, but should Zach be turning around and beating David Finlay like in short succession to get that win back like right away? Like that also, to me, I don't know. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So I liked the match. I don't like the direction of it. Maybe I'll be wrong in the long run, but I feel pretty confident. And I don't usually stick to something like this, but I feel confident that this was the right time for I was to say Drew McIntyre, for David Finlay to win this title.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're going to run into the same opportunity for the right timing for him like this ever again.
Yeah, I feel like he's a guy that could easily go to either WWE or AEW the next year or two. And
maybe I also could feel like that they'll never get this perfect timing for him ever again. Like this was something that might have been pivotal for him. And I think he could be a difference maker for the company given the right set of circumstances. And I feel like they might have missed it.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're going with Shooter. Really?
We had some questions here. We kind of touched on some of it. So if we've touched on it, I'm just going to skip the question. First, Rambone says, who do you think will be holding the world title heading into the G1 this year? Will the Goto revolution continue?
I don't think so, but maybe.
It seems weird, but hey, business is popping. Maybe a Goto G1 tour is what the company needs. Fauci says, you think they're trying to belt up Shota stateside because they're worried a local crowd would throw batteries at him or something?
Maybe, but I think that they might get not quite the reception that they're anticipating here either.
Yeah, I mean, the U.S. fan base does seem to like Shota, and so I could see that crowd, especially if you attract a more AEW-ish crowd. I could see that crowd cheering Umino winning, but when he gets back to Japan, it's going to be a completely different story. Pill Popper says, who do you see as Hirooki Goto's Wrestle Kingdom opponent?
I don't know. Kijimuto. He never beat him.
Yeah, it's all what Goto's doing, right? Goto's beating all the people that he couldn't beat.
Yep.
Let's come to 7252. Do you think Shota needs a mouthpiece if he goes heel, just like Gato was to Okada when he came back from Excursion?
I don't know. I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if that's enough to make this guy, honestly.
Staleburger Bun says, is the Shota heel turn actually coming, or are we just coping like the AW fans did with Cody?
I mentioned that earlier. I don't think it's quite the same thing, because I think with Cody, it was an unwillingness to embrace full-heartedly what the natural progression of the story was. But at the same time, he was clearly doing things that leaned towards a heel leaning, like sort of persona or character, you know, without fully committing to it. But it's like he's wearing attires that like harken to Homelander. He's doing some things that are somewhat heelish and then turning back face and trying to manipulate the crowd, and he's not committing. But like with this, it's like that's not quite what they're doing. It's like they're clearly, for now, as of now, they've tried to make this guy like a top guy, like top ace sort of character, and it's not working. And that's why I say like I think it's closer to like Roman Reigns than anything else.
Yeah, this is like 2016, 2017 Roman Reigns, where they're just trying everything and they're, you know, putting him against Brock, but beating him with Brock, and they're trying to make him a top guy and get sympathy, but he's not getting sympathy. That's what's happening here. Kevin from DC says, with Goto nominating Umino as his next challenger for Windy City Riot, do we finally believe the big moment for Shota is coming this Friday? I don't mean him winning the title. I mean the inciting incident that results in a big change, whether it's a full-on heel turn, a new faction forming, just something. I thought his match with Tanahashi was really good, and I like this stoic Shota that they're trying out, but I definitely think it's a miscalculation if he wins in Chicago.
We've discussed it. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not a believer either way.
Yeah, I mean, we failed to see anything really kind of develop, even in a little bit of what they've been doing. So I know people are kind of holding that hope for something to happen, and we got the young blood stuff happening. So maybe, like I said, if he loses, I think that he should snap, and that should lead to some kind of turn. But the way they've been going, it seems like they're really just trying to make him be a, you know, top babyface.
But to me, that's not like the start of a strong faction. It's like you lose, then you turn, then these guys align with you. Then you have to ask yourself the question: what would the result have been if he won? You know, and then it's like the kayfabe is wonky, you know, because then it's like, would he have turned? Would these guys have aligned with him if he hadn't have won, or if he had won? And it just gets weird. You know, I don't like when it's the same thing as when people, you know, decide to turn 45 minutes into a match and align with the people that have been beating the shit out of them the whole time. Like, it doesn't make sense, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's it for Sakura Genesis. Like we've been talking about, we have Windy City Riot coming up this Friday in Chicago, April 11th. Got the Strong Survivor match. CJ Tino taking on the champion, Zane J. We got TJP taking on Filthy Tom Lawler. We have a number one contendership match for the NJPW Strong Women's title. Azumi versus Mina Shirakawa. The winner will face Mercedes at Resurgence next month. Then we have the strong openweight tag team titles. The world-class freaking crew, Jarrell Nelson and Royce Isaac, will take on the intergalactic jet setters of Kevin Knight and Kushida. We'll have the 30-minute Iron Man match for the strong openweight title. Gabe Kidd defending against Tomohiro Ishii. ELP and our good friend Rocky Romero taking on Naito and Teton. Then we have Zack Sabre Jr. taking on David Finlay. Question from Death Triangle 720. It seems likely ZSJ will challenge for the world title at Dontaku. Do you see him potentially winning the title back?
And maybe. I don't know. Oh my God. What if what we're doing is gearing up Zach? My God. What if we're gearing up Zach to beat David Finlay so that he's the guy that can challenge for the title later in the night against Shota Umino at Dontaku, and we're doing a rematch of the Dome?
Well, that's what I kind of mentioned earlier. Okay, are we either setting up Zach Goto rematch or a Zach Umino rematch?
Well, I just assumed what you meant was Goto and Zach specifically. I hadn't even thought about the Umino aspect.
Yeah, it could happen.
One of those matches was one of the best matches in New Japan this year. And one of those matches
was not.
was a match that happened this year.
Then semi-main event, Ace versus Alpha, Konosuke Takeshita, non-title as of right now, will take on Hiroshi Tanahashi. And then the main event for the IWGP World Heavyweight title, Hirooki Goto will defend against the Roughneck Shota Umino.
That's where we're at with Tanahashi's run. The only way to make it even kind of quasi-believable that maybe he could still win the match is to make it non-title. It can't be for the title. It's less believable that he'd win the belt than if he would win a non-title match.
Yeah.
Which makes me think maybe he's winning. All right, let's go. Ace is high.
Strap him up.
Oh, man. This show, I don't know. It's got a lot of great talent. It doesn't quite necessarily have the cachet of last year's Windy City Riot. I felt like we were on the track to potentially get there, but it's still a strong show on paper. It also still suffers from some of the insular, New Japan strong bubble booking. It doesn't seem to align or matter in the same way that a regular, say Dontaku probably will.
Yeah, I think there are a few matches here that if they really hit, this show can end up being great. Like, if Zach and Finlay do a repeat of the New Japan Cup, that would be great. If Ishii and Gabe have a blowout match, that would make
but that 30-minute Iron Man match is not always, it can, but not always is a conducive gimmick.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. If it hits, it could end up being great. I think Azumi and Mina will be pretty good. So a lot of good
live
stuff.
Show charisma.
Yes, we'll see the live show charisma in person. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff on here that if it goes the right way, it could be really good. Even the main card opener with TJP and Tom Lawler, obviously there's no story there, but they're both very good, and that could just be a fun opening match.
Well, we will be there. If you guys are going to be there, hit us up this week on our socials. And we'll get together. We'll hang out. We'll get drinks, whatever the fuck you got. If you guys are sober, it doesn't matter. Whatever. We'll fucking chill. So let's hang out. We got the news. So consisting of 19 shows in total, the full schedule for the G1 Climax 35 has now been announced. It begins in Hokkaido on the weekend of July 19th and the 20th, and will conclude with 2 nights at Ariake Arena in Tokyo on August 16th and 17th. Due to new 24% U.S. tariffs on products from Japan, prices for exported NJPW and Stardom items will increase. However, T-shirts prices and other non-exported items will remain the same. Rambo and Slam Pig says, what can President Tanahashi do to mitigate the entirely avoidable self-inflicted meltdown of the interconnected global financial system? Will he be willing to hit a high-fly flow on one or more world leaders? And yes.
He would, but he needs to save those high-fly flows, so he needs to send somebody out. He needs to send a muscle out there.
Fraser says, if the current economic climate continues to approach recession, do you think we'll see collision in Korea too?
I mean, if it's gonna make money,
I don't know. Well, I don't know if they made money off that. Like, I don't know. You need someone as insane as Inoki to head that one up. And follow up, having already lifted a lot from Kensuke Sasaki's moveset, what do you think Shota Umino's chances are of replicating his Collision in Korea legend?
I don't think the chances are great.
Do you know that legend?
I don't think
you don't know the Collision in Korea story.
I mean, I've seen like the Dark Side of the Ring, but I'm not thinking of the specifics.
With Akira Hokuto and the story that Dave. Oh, okay. Man, we're running late on time, but I guess I gotta fucking say it because it's got to be said. Okay, so anytime anybody ever brings up Collision in Korea, or anytime Dave has ever written about it, and he's written about it so many times in the Observer, he never fails to tell the story about how Akira Hokuto and Kensuke Sasaki met for like. They might have known each other, but like they met on that tour and like fell in love and were heard making vigorous, loud, angry sex noises all night throughout the entirety of the tour. And like everybody knew about it and was like, it was like a huge thing. And then eventually, obviously they got like married and like they've been together forever and have kids and everything. But like Dave never fails to tell the story about how Kensuke Sasaki and Akira Hokuto like hooked up at Collision in Korea, and everybody heard them like fucking the entire tour. So that's what he means there. So like, what are the chances that Shota Umino is going to like bet a lass or whatever the fuck?
Still think he won't do it.
Yeah, he might. TJ Perkins is a free agent. Fightful Select can confirm he declined his New Japan contract that was offered to him, but will continue to work with the company as a freelancer. WXW has announced that Oscar Luebe and Yuto Nakashima have finished their commitments and they will be leaving Germany. On June 30th, 2025, the NJPW collection service will be discontinued.
Sad.
Sad. You had so many cards,
bro.
digitally.
I stopped playing that game a while ago. Dan was still playing.
Dan Coffin has the entire collection. He better back that shit up. How do you? But I don't know. Maybe he can turn them into ETFs. I don't know.
Yeah.
Meet Jushin Thunder Liger in the UK on Sunday, November 23rd. There's a meet and greet. It's part of the Mitcham Comic Festival at the Cannons Leisure Center. Evil will also be doing a meet and greet at WrestleCon on April 19th and the 20th. I think Tanahashi is as well. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
He might be.
But Evil will be also facing Michael Oku at Defy Living Proof on Thursday, April 17th. From the Social Suplex newsletter, Hiroshi Tanahashi will produce Tanahashi Jam from Aichi Prefectural Gymnasium, Dolphin Arena on April 29th in Nagoya. It will be the last NJPW show at the venue before it closes for good at the end of April. The show will be broadcast domestically on TV Asahi. Konosuke Takeshita will release his first book in Japan on April 28th. The book is entitled, through a translation, Alone, The Lonely Challenge, and will be published by Katawaka. Takeshita will be part of the launch with the book signing and talk in Akihabara, Tokyo on May 5th, the day after Wrestling Dontaku weekend. And then finally for the news, Hiromu Takahashi has announced his fourth solo event, the Friday of Dontaku weekend in Fukuoka. The event entitled With Hiromu-chan Volume 4, Gather Hiromu Maniacs, follows on from a similar show in Kagoshima last year. And that's going to do it for the news. And then we've just got 3 quick questions and we'll get out of here. So first question from Les Commission 7252. He says, thoughts on Kevin Knight's match with Will Ospreay at Dynasty. Ospreay gave him so much, and I think it proves how stupid it was that WWE wanted this guy to work in Performance Center, a guy who was mentored and trained by Shabbat in the LA dojo and graduated mid-tour during the Junior Tag League in 2022.
Yeah, the match was awesome. Great opening to the pay-per-view. I feel like Kevin Knight showed how talented he was, showed his ups there, and yeah, just an awesome pay-per-view opener. And totally agree. It does kind of show you like how dumb it is that WWE was like saying, all right, we'll give you a tryout and then you'll get to the PC and work headlocks all day. So yeah, Kevin Knight definitely has a bright future, and the Ospreay match was awesome.
I've seen some people throw that entire thing around, and I don't think that they're entirely wrong, but I also don't think they're entirely right because, like some companies have ways of doing things and ways that they scout people and bring people in, and it's not always the same. Like some of that is comes down to luck. Some of that comes down to timing, and some of that comes down to getting in front of the right people. Obviously, like WWE can't look at just any and everybody, view their tape, see their work in Japan, and then be like, oh, this person's surefire, we need to bring them in. Like, there's a reason why they have like the vetting system. And some people will bypass it and some people won't. And in AEW, I don't know that AEW does or does not necessarily have some sort of tryout. Do they not have tryouts at all, to your knowledge?
I don't think they do. I think it's pretty much just like Christopher Daniels and the talent team. Like, they get sent tapes or they scout people, and then they get either like a dark match or a Ring of Honor match, and then
I'm sure that some of the matches that they do when they come in are quasi like tryout matches, just like they used to do in WWE.
I feel like more during like the AEW dark days during the pandemic. Obviously, there was a ton of indie talent that got featured and got a shot, and that was probably, I think, the closest thing to tryouts that they've done.
And let me put it to you this way: it's like, I know tomorrow if I quit my job and I went to shopping around to companies, I know there are some smaller companies where I could absolutely just show them my numbers, show them my licenses, and get picked up based on my talent, and I could do really well there. I also know that there are places that I could go where that shit wouldn't mean anything, because they're like, yeah, we're a big company. We have so many people that are trying to come in, and like, I would have to go through the rigmarole of like applying, doing like the not entry level shit, but like, it just wouldn't be the same. Like, I wouldn't just be picked up and like thrown to the fire like some companies would. And it's just different. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard for me to like just completely criticize WWE and be like, they're stupid. It's like, they've got so much talent. Like, how are they going to fit in Kevin Knight right now? They don't even know what the fuck to do with like Ricky Saints or whatever, Ricky Starks or whatever.
Hey, he's the North American champion, sir.
I'm sure, Tony fumbled, but it's like, it comes down to timing. Like, there are times where, they can't figure out exactly what everybody should be doing at all time. So I don't know. We had a question from Barry. Says, sorry for another Bret Hart scale one, but can you rate Okada and Tanahashi in their peaks? Reason I ask was myself and probably a lot of people got into New Japan with Okada on top, but I think Tana will still shade it with higher mic skills.
Okay, so look for peak guys. I don't know. I think I'd
Let's
go.
do this.
Okay.
I don't want to do the whole Bret Hart scale for both guys. It just seems like too much time. In their prime for prime, who would you rate higher in each of these? Because that's really the heart of the question of what he's asking us, is like, who's better? Mm-hmm. I'm sure he is asking for the mathematical analysis, but like, let's just simplify it. So like, what's the first one?
Look.
Okay, that's really tough.
I think I would go Tanahashi.
I would slightly go Tanahashi, but it's like Okada's taller. Tanahashi has the incredible physique. He's got like the like superstar look, but Okada also has, I don't know, that's really, really tough. It's like, I would edge it.
I think
barely edge it.
I think Tanahashi's body, because I mean, Okada's tall, but like Tanahashi is like ripped, jacked abs, like big muscles, has the hair.
Yeah. But I do think that I prefer some of Okada's gears and entrance attires and things. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I would go Tanahashi, but barely.
Mike, I mean, we don't speak Japanese.
We don't speak Japanese, but Okada spent so many years like kind of developing into a talker, and Tanahashi sort of always had that. I would assume Tanahashi is the better show closer, but I don't know. Like, he cries all the fucking time.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd probably lean Tanahashi on that one too.
But I don't know how high I would consider either of them to be if we're being realistic. And like in the heart of what the Bret Hart scale is, like his whole thing with promos is like talking people into the building. I don't know that either of those guys are really doing that. Like the bulk of what they're good at and expected to do is send people home happy. That's about the biggest strength that they have, is riling people up, saying inspiring things and sending them home happy. They're not talking people into the building. They're sending them home happy. It's a totally different thing.
Yeah, because most of their promos are not even really seen unless you have New Japan World and you watch them.
Yeah. So I don't know that I would consider either of them to be, from my understanding of it, like a really great promo either way.
Yeah. So look might work.
That's really tough.
Yeah.
I prefer Tanahashi's work personally, but I think Okada, if I'm being objective, I think Okada peaks higher on a more consistent basis. But, Okada had a much more robust body of talent to work with at his peak than Tanahashi ever did.
True.
Tanahashi in his peak was working with and this is no slight against these guys, but he was working Suzuki, Kojima, Giant Bernard,
Makabe.
It's a totally different thing than having AJ Styles, Kota Ibushi, Jay White, Kenny Omega, the list goes on and on. It's a totally different thing.
Yeah. And then It Factor. Again, that's
it's really tough.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
They're both fucking stars. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
At their peaks.
Yeah, I mean, if we did a score, they'd probably be either the same or like 1 point different from each other.
That's not a cop-out answer. I think that's an actual accurate answer.
Yeah.
And then the last question, Rich Latta, and you saved this for me. Can the young boy talk about the loss of George Foreman? I know we're at the tail end of the show, so I won't wax poetic for too long. But yeah, I did want to talk about George Foreman. It was really, really sad to hear about the passing of George Foreman. What I consider to be one of, if not the greatest heavyweight champions that has ever lived, period. I think it's almost impossible to do any sort of like realistic or respected list of top heavyweight fighters that have ever existed and not come up with George Foreman, at least in your top 10, maybe even in the top 5. That's how good George was. But he was a freak of nature, man. Like, he literally was a dude that had almost no amateur pedigree whatsoever. Like, and then turned around and went to the Olympics and won gold. when like the Olympics really, especially winning a gold at heavyweight in the Olympics was like, astronomically hard. And, I think he had, I don't want to misquote, but I think it was like 20 fights or something like that. Like, most people most people that go to the Olympics have had hundreds of career amateur fights. And he took up boxing late in his like later, age, relatively speaking. I think the highest level he ever fought, he never fought at nationals or anything. I think he fought like at the Golden Globe level, fought in and some of those fights that I'm considering are qualifiers. Like, he won the qualifiers. He went to, I think they went to Italy. I can't recall. And he won the Olympics, which was just super unexpected, and then turned around and was competing, at heavyweight and just bulldozing everybody, like in such a terrifying way that no one wanted to fight him. And by the time that he fought Muhammad Ali, I mean, he had bulldozed Joe Frazier, who was one of the absolute all-time greatest heavyweights. And I mean, the way he destroyed him, it was like, there's the famous Howard Cosell recap where he's like, down goes Frazier, down goes Frazier. He dropped Joe Frazier in like 2 or 3 rounds, like I don't know, it was like 9 times or something. It was something crazy, and he kept getting back up. And and no one had ever done that to Joe Frazier. He's undefeated. And then he fought Ken Norton, who was, someone that went life and death twice with Muhammad Ali. And there's a lot of people that think he beat Muhammad Ali every time they ever fought. And he just blitzed him and just fucking knocked him out in like 1 or 2 rounds. By the time he fought Ali in Zaire, it was one of the biggest underdog stories ever. Like, people were very afraid. They thought he was going to literally kill Muhammad Ali. And my dog is acting crazy. Come here. Like, he's super smart. He knows we're not supposed to be recording at this time. So he's like, let's go. But yeah, so and the crazy thing is, like, if you look at the figures of how many people watched the fight between Ali and Frazier worldwide, I do think that it is still probably one of, if not the most watched worldwide events that has ever occurred, not just in sports, but just like by humanity. There's like a couple billion people that watched that fight. And it's funny because, you know, nowadays we try to equate the success of like a sporting event or a fight by the number of pay-per-view buys that it did and everything like that. But there has never been a fight that generated as much revenue as Ali versus Frazier. I don't think there ever will be, just because the way the sport is generated. If you ever want to watch something that's really incredible, When We Were Kings, the documentary from like 1996, it kind of catalogs the entire history between Ali and Frazier, or I'm sorry, Ali and Foreman and everything that happened there. And, you know, that's the famous rope-a-dope story where, you know, Muhammad Ali was able to, you know, take the best from George Foreman and take him into deep waters and knock him out. But it is really amazing that Ali never fought him again, you know, for how great Ali is. And he probably is the greatest boxer of all time. And all the great challenges he took on and everything like that. He never did fight George Foreman again. George Foreman did go inactive for a year after that. And so there was always the claim that like he didn't get back into the rankings in time to like fight Ali, but Ali fought until like, you know, the late 70s, early 80s. There was definitely time for that fight to happen. And, you know, there are some conspiracy theories about reasons why Ali wouldn't fight him. I honestly think that there's a good chance that Ali employed the perfect game plan to beat him one time, but maybe couldn't do that a second time. But, you know, it does speak to George Foreman's mindset. He's come out publicly and said that he thinks Ali's so great, doesn't matter what he would have done, Ali would have always figured out a way to beat him somehow, some way. But that's one of the things that people don't necessarily give credit to early George Foreman about, is like they see him as just this bruiser that knocked people out. But when you look at his ring IQ, his acumen, the style of fight that he employed, and the way he was able to, you know, do that in such a short period of time of prize fighting and to build that acumen over time, he has to be one of the most impressive like ring IQ people that I've ever seen. And that's why he was able to come back in the late 80s and the early 90s in it, you know, after he had quit boxing and he became a preacher, and everything like that, and a businessman, and fell on hard times, and he went back to boxing. And it was kind of like, in the beginning, it was like a joke. Like he was doing ads where he would like jog and eat Burger King and stuff like that. And he kind of became like, it was funny because like in the 70s, he was one of the most feared black like sporting figures. Like he was kind of seen as everything that was like, you know, he was kind of the continuation of what Sonny Liston was like the angry black dude that everybody was, you know, and this is in the 70s when we're right in the middle of like civil rights and everything like that. Mm-hmm. And he was hated and he was feared, and, you know, he was kind of characterized in one very particular way. And then when Ali vanquished him, he never could kind of outrun that kind of perception of him. And it's so amazing the way they were able to market him in the 80s to turn him into like America's dad. And he kind of just became this like lovable, affable, happy-go-lucky, like, you know, human being. But I think underneath it all, that's who he kind of always was to begin with. And yeah, like it was such an unlikely thing that he would ever win the title. There's a funny story in the early 90s where he was on the comeback trail. He'd had some fights, and the big fight that people wanted to see happen was him and Mike Tyson. And this like in 1990, 91, just before Tyson went away for the rape, charge. And they had even done HBO co-branded events where it was like they both fought on the same card. Usually they do that when they're gearing up to build a fight between the two guys. And like Mike would not sign to fight George Foreman. The reason for that is because his trainer Customato had shown all of these tapes back in the day showing the style of fighter that George Foreman was versus the types of fighters that were kind of modeled on the same peekaboo style that Mike Tyson employed. And Customato had kind of, put it in the brain of Mike Tyson that he was like a swarmer like you, and an inside swarming guy can't beat a stalker the size and strength of a George Foreman. So by the time like George is fat, he's old, he's bald, and he is winning fights, but he doesn't look like George Foreman of years ago. They like the Don King and everybody else, they thought that like him fighting Mike Tyson was just like easy money, like the same way that Mike Tyson had beat up Larry Holmes a few years earlier. Mike wouldn't sign, and Mike was like, I'm not fucking fighting him. Because he was afraid of him, like for real, like because he had the aura of what he had been for all those years. And he famously was quoted as telling Don King, he's like, you fucking love him so much, you go fight that animal. You think he's a nice man? That's not a nice man. There's an animal underneath him, and I'm not fighting him. So Mike Tyson never would fight him, but he eventually, he had an incredible match in 1990, one of the highest grossing pay-per-views of its time against Evander Holyfield. That fight is insane. If you ever get the chance, it used to play on ESPN all the time. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. Like that fight is incredible. He doesn't beat Holyfield, but there's some rounds where he really hurts Evander in that fight. Evander Holyfield is my favorite heavyweight fighter of all time. And that fight is insane. And he actually said that the reason he came back to fight is because God told him that he was going to win. He was a very religious guy, and he told him told him he was going to win the world heavyweight, or his wife said that God told her that he needed to go back and win the world title. And so that was like the promise he was holding on to the whole time he was like fighting. And then in 1994, the right set of circumstances came, and Michael Moore became the world champion. And Michael Moore like kind of gets slept. It's so funny because he beat Michael Moore, but Michael Moore was like heralded as one of the great prize fighters of his time. One of the greatest like light heavyweight champions of all time, the first Southpaw to ever win the world title. And no one gave George Foreman a chance like whatsoever. It was just like kind of a money grab sort of thing. And in the 10th round, like the one thing that George still had going for him was like his power. And he was able to put like these super fast 1-2s. Like he was still like lumbering and like putting his hands up and like, doing the mummy thing that he does. But I just kind of, I don't know, where it's like pop, pop, and like Michael Moore had racked up enough points in that fight where if he had just gotten on his bicycle and just boxed him from the outside, he probably would have been fine. But he decided to fight him like a man and stand in front of him. And Michael Moore, like you see it happen throughout the round. It's like pop, 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 pop. And like every now and again, and then suddenly boom, 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 he just goes down. And you're like, oh, even now you watch it and like George Foreman's like 46, 45, 46. It's like, dudes that old are not supposed to be fighting for the world title. And
Goto.
Yeah, it's like Goto. It really is like Goto. And he held that title for like another few years. Like he definitely didn't fight the best guys that were out there. But I mean, he also was still actively defending the lineal title for like another 2 to 3 years before he lost it to Shannon Briggs. And I mean, he was a very, very like generous person. He was beyond just his experience in boxing, like one of the most notable voices in the boxing community with his commentary and everything that he did to help young fighters and his work with HBO. Very charitable person. Like he donate. Everyone knows him obviously from like George Foreman, like grills and everything like that. And he has other fights that the Ron Lyle. If you've never seen the Ron Lyle fight, that's probably the most insane heavyweight slugfest I've ever seen in my life. If you want to talk about 5-star, 6, 7-star boxing matches, that is one of the all-time greatest boxing matches that's ever happened. Rock'em Sock'em Robots, just pure violence. And I was very sad to hear about George Foreman's death. One last thing I'll mention. This is funny. I think it was Rich who sent this to me. There was like a video just a couple of years ago where they were like, George Foreman still has it. And it was him like being in the gym, and they were going to have him work on the heavy bag. Right. And so he's like walking up to the heavy bag, and he was like, it's so like scripted. He's like, "You ready, coach?" And he's like, "You ready, son?" And they're like, "We're ready." And then it's shot from his back, and he starts pounding the bag, and it's like, bah, bah. And he was always very famous for being a dude that like, the way he worked the heavy bag wasn't like other fighters. Like other fighters, like when I work the heavy bag, I'm working combos and out, blah, blah. He would just stand there and boof, and he would hit bags so hard they would fucking break either off the hinges, or the sand would fall out, or the stuffing. And so you see him here, and he's, you know, in his 60s or 70s or whatever the fuck, and he's pounding the bag and back and forth. And then eventually the coach is like, okay. And then George Foreman's like, "I'm ready for another comeback again." And then and it was like all like, it's kind of hokey but kind of cool. But I was like, Rich, that's not real. Rich is like, what? And I was like, bro, watch that shit again. And when you
I think I remember. I think he's in the group chat. Yeah.
When you watch the video, it's like George Foreman has certain sweat patterns on his gray stuff, and they shoot it to where it's like you see him, and then they pull away to his son, and his son's like talking, and then they pull back away, and you don't see his face. It's his head's down, and it's from the back perspective, and he has different sweat on his back than. And then the person is pounding the bag. I'm like, that's not George Foreman. That's some other dude with a bald head that they paid to stand in for this dude. And then when he was, and I was like, if you notice, the person hitting the bag, they never show his face. They pull back, and his son's like, "Oh my God, my dad still has it." And then they pull back, and George is like, "Yeah, I did it." And I remember thinking, like, why did they do this? What was the point of this? Maybe, I don't know, maybe trying to, you know, get some TikTok views or make some money off TikTok. I don't know, but it was fucking funny. But yeah, I love George Foreman. I think George is like, he's a top 5 heavyweight fighter of all time. If you haven't seen his work, or I'm sure there's just so much out there about him. And yeah, it is very unfortunate, but one of the greatest fighters that ever lived.
Yeah. Great tribute there. So last thing, did you watch the Kushida Neon match?
Nope, but I was able to talk about George Foreman.
All right, well, we'll push that to next week, and we will wrap up here. So next week we'll be back to review Windy City Riot. Just remember, if you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, sign by patreon.com/KI Strong Style. You can also make a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure to connect with us on social media on X and Blue Sky. Follow us at KI Strong Style, at Socialsuplex, and at Jeremy L. Donovan on Facebook. Follow us at facebook.com/Socialsuplex and the Wrestling Square Circle Facebook group. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy, Josh's Keeping It Strong Style. On YouTube, we are at Social Suplex. You can join our Social Suplex Discord server. To interact with us and other wrestling fans, you can email me, Jeremy, at socialsuplex.com, and check out all the shows that we have here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. One Issue Radio with Rich Latta and James Boyd, All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin, Imps WWE Adventure with the Implications with Matthew Mayer, Wrestling Art with Chris Slings, Tunnel Talk with Ali and Leah, and the Trish and Sarah Wrestling Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review, and we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.